make a girl a promise. If you know you can't keep it. They let me pick. Did I ever tell you that? Choose whichever Spartan I wanted. You know me. I did my research, watched as you became the soldier we needed you to be. Like the others, you were strong and swift and brave. A natural leader. But you had something they didn't. Something no one saw but me. Can you guess? Luck. Was I wrong? Don't make a girl a promise. If you know you can't keep it. They let me pick. Did I ever tell you that? Choose whichever Spartan I wanted. You know me. I did my research, watched as you became the soldier we needed you to be.
Sorry. Good evening, everybody. This is the Xbox Series podcast. I delayed and delayed and delayed to see how long that Gamzly could hold his breath and his face, and caught just the moment that he cracked. So we're going to get on. We're going to have a good show. It's going to be a show that goes quite in depth onto Hellblade 2, but don't worry, there won't be any spoilers because we wouldn't do that to you, especially not on a game that only came out a couple of days ago, but probably also not on a game that came out 2 decades ago. Don't like spoilers. Just going to have a good chat about the game and everything around it. Loads of other topics as well. But before we do, Deadly Headley, look at Gamzly's face. And how you been?
Always looking at Gamzly's face. I actually can't get enough of Gamzly's face. I'm doing all right.
Hurt.
It's
My face hurt. Help me.
well, that sucks. That's not good.
Yeah.
How do we fix your face? That's a cruel question.
It's a hard question. There is no fixing it. Continue.
It's been a week. Anyone who's been following me on Twitter, I unfortunately didn't get to play Hellblade 2 until this morning because I had some stuff going on my end vis-a-vis my partner's mother going into hospital on Sunday night, which was kind of stressful and scary and an intense way to start off the week. But she's all good. She should be coming out of hospital soon. And Life is back to, well, not up, but whatever normal is. So yeah, we are here, and I'm ready to talk some games.
Well, yeah, I seem to be cursed because we had one of the co-hosts on the Tuesday, Chris Grinnell, had relation issues with hospitals and all the rest of it. So apologies if you're on a podcast with me. Apparently I'm cursed and your relatives will not benefit. But I'm glad that she's on the mend doing better.
No.
Gamzly.
Future gaming Arcadians, be warned.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm next. This is not good.
You
We don't
were
need
in a
any
way. That
more
was
of
was
We
planned.
do not need any more of it. Everything's normal. Everything's good. How are you, Gamzly?
I kind of okay. No, I'm very okay. It's actually quite sunny here. I'm in my third home today. I keep seeming to have a different home every time I get onto this podcast. Things are just not going well with my my steady move-in idea and plan of my new place. Everything's blowing up as we speak. My internet is the problem. I'm not in that place at the moment. Unfortunately, I debuted my new place, my new little bookshelf, on Boom Show, which I wanted to debut here, and I'm not even in my new place here. So I'm sad. Anyways, point is, life is good. It's sunny out. I'm ready to talk games. I'm playing Hellblade. I'm loving it. We're gonna get into a pretty deep dive into that. I'm just everything's good. I'm having fun.
So I've seen your bookcase arena. I've seen this place that you're in now. You obviously spent at least 16 years in that prison cell. So you finally got your freedom, and now you're just hopping around enjoying that taste of the free life, going wherever you can and podcasting from everywhere. But it's working. We can hear you. We can see you. So happy for that. Let's talk about
Goodness.
How
yeah,
are
let's
you,
talk
Asa,
about.
first of all?
Oh, you don't want to know. You don't want to know because the answer is
Of course I
brilliant.
do, that's
Always
why I
brilliant.
asked.
Thank you for asking. No, I'm doing good. I'm honestly a bit burnt out on Hellblade talk, so let's cut that one short. No, it's an interesting game for sure, but I've been heavily working on reviewing that properly and fully and thoroughly. So I'm like, Hellblade break. We're going to talk about Hellblade.
Is that going
which is
up?
cool.
When's that going
When's that
up?
going up? I'm slow.
When's it going up?
So it should be like probably at the weekend. Probably at the weekend, but I'm working on it as hard as I can, Gamzly. And we will talk about it today as well. But before we do, let's talk about some other games. So Deadly Headley, you obviously had these issues going on in the week that are taking you away from gaming. But by my calculations, you had a Friday and a Saturday in the meantime. Maybe even a bit of a Sunday. Did you get anything in?
So there were three things that I managed to get in. One, and unfortunately this was cut short because Asa, I promise you, man, I had every intention of actually finishing Hellblade 1. I did. I had every intention.
Let me just hold on. Deal's a deal. You're muted for this week because you weren't allowed to talk until you finished that game. I had entirely forgotten this, but now you've come along and confessed your sins.
I tried really,
Last
really
of
hard.
Us or something.
Plead leniency.
I wasn't playing The Last of Us. I had like real life shit to deal with. I'm sorry, but I did try and finish Hellblade 1. And I'm going to get back to that. I played a little bit of Hellblade 2 this morning, and we'll go into that. I've had like 2 hours on Hellblade 2.
Really quickly.
One of those hours was spent in photo mode, and I make no apologies for it. Carry on.
You shouldn't make any apologies, but when you first launch a Hellblade 2 campaign, it offers you a recap of the first game. Did you watch it or did you skip it?
I watched it, but I want to go back and get the full context and experience it. I have every intention of going back.
That's a risk. And obviously the way that the recap is told is quite different to actually experiencing it in the game. So it's worked out in your favor. But if a game had told me, if I was in the midst of finishing one and then a little clip came up and said, do you want to see what happens? I'd say no. So we're quite different in that sense.
So I think a lot of what was told in a way that was much more abstract than the presentation in Hellblade 1. So I went through that intro not really feeling like it had taken too much of the experience that I am in the middle of having with Hellblade 1. It has actually made me want to go and get the depth and the understanding of what fully happened because I'm not 100% clear on it. Like I don't I'm unclear enough on all of the nuances and the detail in what happened in Hellblade 1 to not really feel like I have had anything spoiled. I've got a rough idea of what happens now, but I don't feel like that experience has been taken away from me. So
It hasn't, but
I'm
you're
okay with it.
lucky.
Maybe I'll feel different when I actually finish it. But you are very, very conscious of spoilers. There is that.
Mhm. I am.
Yeah. So, and the one other thing that I did get to touch on this morning, because this really piqued my interest earlier this week. There is a new playlist type in Halo Infinite, in the Combat Workshop. It is essentially a Call of Duty Black Ops style zombies mode in Halo Infinite. So I had one round of that, and it was really cool. You can jump in with a party. It supports up to 4 players. It's in the Combat Workshop. I think definitely this week. I'm sure it will be for a couple more weeks. But that mode has been put together by the Forge Falcons, who are quite prominent on Twitter for some of the stuff that they've done with basically a sort of DIY battle royale mode that went into
Mhm.
Halo Infinite. It's interesting. I would like to play it with a team rather than on my own, and definitely play a little bit more of it. Hopefully, survive longer than we did last time. But that's cool, and I'm actually looking forward to just jumping in and playing a little bit more of that.
Unfortunately, our community streams are far too popular for a 4-player co-op mode, so it's not likely to happen this weekend.
they
But question on that: so the
It's
Combat
a very,
Workshop, I've
very
never.
humble flex, by the way, there, Asa. Just
Yeah, it's really not. It's really not. But yeah, we have an awesome time.
He
The
wishes he could
Combat
just go
Workshop,
to
I've
bed
never.
and play VR.
No, Gamzly, what? That'd be really uncomfortable.
What happened?
The Combat Workshop. I've never downloaded anything from there, so obviously I've got some inkling of how the level building and stuff and the capabilities and potential people have when they're just building levels.
So-
but what can they do in terms of game modes?
It's the Combat Workshop it's a matchmaking playlist in Halo Infinite, and it's basically designed as like a testing ground. So it's not like they're just gonna bang it in as like a separate infection mode, for example, and just go, yeah, this is a new infection game type. They're sort of testing it to make sure that it's balanced properly and that players are responding well to it, and sort of looking for feedback rather than it being a finished thing. But potentially that means that, well, clearly, actually, the most exciting thing that, or the most exciting conclusion that I've come to with looking at how 343 have handled this and how they're looking at sort of getting other players within their broader matchmaking sphere to experience something that's a little bit more curated and customized, is that clearly they're going to be open to doing more of this with more creators and hopefully just adding even more diversity to Halo Infinite. Even though the player base is sort of still, in my opinion, needs to grow, but it's good. It's a good time.
Do you think that it needs to grow because you just want success for Halo, or do you think that it needs to grow because you're
Pretty
finding...
much. That's plastic trophy shit. Let me get that really, really clear. I want Halo Infinite to be a lot more popular than it currently is, because I think it needs to be. I think I do. I don't know, especially with some of the shit that's happened with Microsoft and other gaming studios recently. I worry about the amount of pressure and flack that 343 are sort of regularly under. Just want to see them get. I mean, I think they've got Halo Infinite right, but I think it's really, really important that whatever their next venture is, they get it right. And if that means they need more funding and more time to get it done properly, Halo Infinite having a larger player base, give you a little hint into the kind of thing that I am going to be talking about in my next video, which I still haven't finished writing because life has got in the way. But we'll talk about that another time. Yeah, something that's still on my mind is Halo as a multi-platform move, but again, we don't have to talk about that today.
Fair enough.
Do you think outside? I'm going to ask. Sorry. Do you
Go on.
think there is a bounce back moment for this game that isn't another like game in like entirely another game? You
Here's
think
the
that
thing.
Halo Infinite specific can bounce back? Because I don't.
I think the only way Halo Infinite bounces back is if it gets a new player base. That's the only way it bounces back. I don't think it grows any more than it currently does. And to be clear, Any fucking fanboys listening looking for a W or whatever the fuck you think you're looking for.
There's no fanboys here.
I think
So
that
13.
Halo as it stands is very, very good. I wish that it could grow again for the health of the IP, the health of the studio, etc., etc. But I wish it would keep growing. And again, the only way that you're going to be able to grow it is by inviting more users into that player base.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
The only other way it could get a bounce back moment is with like a serious overhaul in terms of game modes and it having new campaign content and lots of new stuff. But the only way
Yeah,
that really that gets sustained is via a lot of forge work, and that stuff takes time.
I think we could bounce off of this right after I say this, but I think that the only way to bounce back this series is have a whole other game, and I think they can hold out if the Call of Duty bet kind of, pays off. But we'll talk about that another day. All right.
Or they could hijack it and just stick the chief in Call of Duty. Job done.
We could do that, yeah.
That would be sick.
That's a terrible idea. It's fine if it means luminous green enemies
That
for
would
me.
get
Then
me
I'm
on Call
happy.
of Duty.
But
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
That would get me right in Call of Duty.
Make a $40 Halo skin, Anyway.
Just
Oh,
take my money.
Gamzly, don't you sit yourself down. Don't give them ideas that they've already had.
I was gonna say, we don't want to blow the lid on why Call of Duty going into Game Pass is a good thing and not a horrible thing. Too early, do we? Talking about monetization and how easy it is to monetize a game when you don't ask people to pay for it up front. Anyway,
You disgust me.
Ah,
So we will discuss that at some point if you want to. But for now, Gamzly, give me some gaming talk. What have you been playing besides Hellblade 2?
well, I'm going to be super boring again this week. I don't have anything really, really in depth to say about the games I've been playing except for Hellblade, because I touched Hellblade 1 again, so I went through a whole playthrough of Hellblade 1 with my girlfriend, like I've said last week. And then I completed Hellblade 2 in like 1.5 sittings. But I jumped into Immortals of Avium right after Hellblade 2, which is quite interesting because I think the discussion around it is very comparable to Hellblade 1. Like, I jumped into that game, and it does tell a very okay, the story is not at all as gripping and as important as Hellblade 1, but it is it grips you in the same way as it grips you with its beauty, and it really is like such a spectacle, that game. Like, Immortals of Avium is one of the best games that I've looked at this generation. If I would have to rank the best visuals, I would put this in the top 4 of this year, right? Like, that game is quite pretty to look at. It's just in the same vein as Hellblade 1. It is shallow on the gameplay element of it, but it is also not as good story-wise, so it is where it is, like, critically because of that. I think it is an enjoyable game if you're looking at it as a, like, story and as a spectacle and as a cinematic experience. If you're looking at it like that, then this game is quite interesting and fun. Like, it's actually fun, unlike some of the combat in Hellblade 1. It's just a generic shooter. So if Hellblade is a generic action, like, adventure combat style, Mortals of Avium is a generic shooter at the end of the day.
You're outrageous.
Very
I'm not having
generic.
any of this. You can't call the first Hellblade generic in any sense of the word. It is fairly unique in what it
generic.
does. And you can't draw comparisons with
said
friggin' Immortals of
combat.
Avium. They are so starkly
Yes, I can.
very different.
Listen to me.
Like,
I said, if you rip out the emotionality of the freaking story, all right? They're both very visually beautiful, and they tell that, I mean, the story beats are almost freaking, I mean, It's just faster paced.
Okay.
It's just a
There is
shooter,
nobody on the
know?
planet that is going to say that the story beats of Immortals of Avium and Hellblade are in any sort of parity.
I'm just being
I love that you're
controversial, all
doing
right? I'm
that.
just trying to pull your heartstring. I'm just
There's
pulling
also
on your
you've
heartstring.
kind of touched on the point that we will end up getting into about reviews and
Yeah, no,
discourse as
like,
well.
okay.
If you pull the story elements from Hellblade, you're not left with much, because that's the thing that sold.
Yeah,
That's the thing that was designed.
yeah.
You're left with some
But
very, very fascinating game
most of
design.
that was a joke, though. And
Again,
most of that was a joke. But
you know
in
what
terms
people
of
are
like,
like. Just
they're gonna
they
clip
cover all
me. They're gonna be
bases.
like, Gamzly talks about Immortals of Avium and Hellblade. No, but it is it is a very beautiful game, and it is quite fun when you get into it. Yeah, I'm not too far into Immortals of Avium. It's again generic, like Asa said, in every way. It's pretty generic. It's a generic game, but it is beautiful and it does have a fun element to it. If you like if you like shooting games, and you like magic, go play Immortals of Avium. It's quite interesting, and it's in Game Pass, so it doesn't cost you anything. Go jump in there and have a shot at it, and it might grip you more than you think. Yeah, and
So Immortals
obviously
of
Hellblade 2.
Avium, I've played it through to the end. There is, if you want a more in-depth take on it, there is a review sitting on this channel that does go into depth on it. Doesn't reference Hellblade even once for some reason. I don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't have that moment where I'm like, oh, this reminds me of Hellblade. But actually, I do like that game. So has a lot going for it. It is another Unreal Engine 5 one. So does have some shiny visuals to look at.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just not. It's lacking in almost every category, but it's a fun romp through an interesting little world. But yeah, that's what I've been playing for now.
Good.
What
Well,
have you been playing, Asa?
I don't really know. I don't know, because I can't keep track of time.
No.
Hellblade launched on Tuesday, and I played through the entirety of that, like pretty quickly, more than one time. Pete saved me with a super chat. Gaming Arcadia have 5 wonderful presenters. Really looking forward to Isla making it 6 onwards and upwards. For a minute then, I was counting in my head. I was like, right, we got 3 on Tuesday, and we got 3 on Thursday. Who does Pete hate? And then I realized that I'm on both. So no, that is 5 in total. Okay, cool. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Pete, for challenging my maths there. I know. It's surprising. I can't always, but I got there. Got there quickly and smoothly. Didn't actually need
Use
to
your
confess
fingers.
how hard it was.
You have that luxury. I can't do that.
I do.
Anyways,
Hellblade 2. Hellblade 2. Deadly Headley, I'm going to go, because your impressions are so raw, because you've only started it this morning, you've done an hour of the actual game, about an hour of playing around in Photoshop, you're playing it on the Series X. What's your immediate takeaway impression from it?
It just looks so good. It just looks so ridiculously good, and I can't get over how ridiculously good it looks. It just the raw fidelity of the experience that you have hands-on from the beginning is just so impressive. And I'm really taken aback by how much of a step up it feels, especially from the first game and coming. You know, the last game I played before Hellblade 2 was Hellblade 1, and the technological leap in presentation quality is night and day. Like we saw back when back sort of pre-embargo lift, when review copies started dropping into the hands of content creators, and several creators on Twitter, etc., were floating around this quote next gen. I get it. It really does feel like this is the technical showcase that was promised from Ninja Theory, teased with Xbox, and I don't feel like anything has been compromised in terms of the vision that was sold versus the vision that has been delivered so far. What has really captivated me, and the thing that gets me really excited about this game, is photo mode. I am absolutely obsessed with photo mode, and I'm really impressed with it. I tweeted a little bit about this earlier today, but for context, I'm a graphic designer. I work in a pretty high-paced design agency where I'm working with very, very high quality assets and photography and video footage, and I get to make really beautiful things all the time. And for me, it's a privilege and a joy to do such awesome work every day. I feel like I am playing with creative tools in Hellblade 2's photo mode right off the back. I'm just playing around with like different camera angles. I've started this technique that I've really enjoyed playing around with is you can leave real-time effects running. So things like, so there's like a beach that you land on, slight spoilers, but not really. It's in the opening scene of the game, where you've got waves crashing on one side, you've got rain going, there's a flag in the background, there's fog, there's clouds, everything's moving, everything feels vivid, everything feels so viscerally real in that moment when you're just watching this world go by. And I'm in photo mode, you can leave all those things running, and I just started like just tracking my camera down this beach really, really slowly and just creating this beautiful cinematic shot because I could. And as a essentially a very, very impressive UE5 tech demo, I'm blown away by what this engine can do, and I'm really excited to keep playing with it. It actually makes me want to start exploring. I wouldn't know where to start with working with Unreal Engine 5, but I'm aware that even within the industry that I work in as a professional, Unreal Engine 5 is used to create certain cinematic scenes, and seeing the capability of this game engine makes me want to play around with it. I'm so impressed by it. That's
play
where
around
I'm
with
at.
it.
That's
Get into it. Download
2
it.
hours. I'm just like, wow, that's all I've
But
got.
not until you finish Hellblade 1.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, just
no
play
self-teaching
Immortals of
Unreal Engine 5 until
Avium.
you've finished.
Mortals of Avium.
I'm not going to do that. I have
Play
got it
that.
down. I actually
Yeah,
bought
instead.
it. It was on sale for like £8. Not even that. It was on sale for like £3. I think it was like a
Support the
maybe a
devs,
glitch
baby.
or something. I don't know. Support the devs by buying a game for £3. EA can cover the rest. They've got like $1 billion apparently. So fuck them. Anyway,
Oh my god.
Hellblade 2.
Oh no.
Gamzly, do you disagree with what Deadly Headley was saying there? Is he wrong about anything?
No.
Okay, now then, now that you've covered that and reinforced Deadly Headley's words, let's move on from Hellblade 2. No, Gamzly, tell me about Hellblade 2. Tell me how you found it.
Yeah. Before that, I'm gonna just call back on my little notebook. Little Gamzly's notebook over here. I as I've said before, I played the first one and tried to get into it multiple times. It didn't work at first. I was not ready to, I guess, see the beauty of that game because I've always been a believer. Like I've always wanted games to be fun, and I'm that person that's going to be like, yeah, I like games. I like the Zeldas and the Marios and the fun games. Screw the narrative stuff and the cinematic stuff. You, Asa, looked right in my face and you said, nah, this medium could be more than that. I'm like, nah, I can't. Screw The Last of Us and all this Sony stuff. No, I'm kidding. But I went back and I tried it a third time with Cleo. Sorry. I went back a third time and I experienced it with Cleo again. And like I said the last time, she really did point out some things. So the first game is about obviously it's psychosis, but it's also depression and working with it, and Cleo knows very much about the depression side. And she was pointing stuff out and helped me connect with Senua in the first game. And I found it ultimately better hearing from what she has to say with it. So the first game, it's the classic secluding yourself, right, from the people that you love, and kind of thinking that your illness is going to hurt those around you, and to try to combat that and combat your feelings, you gotta start detaching and stuff like that. We all know drama around it. But I found it quite interesting that by the end of that whole story, she reconnects with herself, but she has nothing around her, right? And getting into Hellblade 2, I saw a lot of like articles saying, or a lot of people saying that Senua's story wasn't as, impactful this time. I think it was just different. I think that this one, it was about finding that community. Again, it's a classic story of that depression and overcoming depression or, seclusion. And this one's about helping others go through the same thing she threw, like help them beat fear. This one is a very fear-based theme here that I'm seeing. Community building. She's trying to re-implement herself into society to help herself move forward. And that's exactly what she gets at the end of this game. In my opinion, that's how I saw it. I connected with this Senua story much more than the first one. Because I think Cleo, it's not the same problem here. We're not talking about something so serious, but Cleo is in almost the same stage as Senua is in this story, and I think I bond with this Senua much better than the first one, because I see her struggle and I see her determination to help the people around her to try to find a purpose, and the way it blends mythology and stories, like just to call back, who was it? Druth is the person that talks during the lore and all that stuff. I find it interesting like it's so masterfully done where myths are legends that we make up, right? We're like, we make up the... Oh, 1 second. Sorry about that. My father-in-law just stepped in. Druth tells the stories to Senua, like, to help her out. She always tells her stories. We know that he's told her myths and all these legends and all this stuff. And I love how everything that Senua sees and feels are those myths and stories. Like, every time she's going through an episode, she'll see that made-up story. Like, she'll see the world like that. Like, there's gods and monsters and all of that. And in the second one, how they blend that, what she sees, what she experiences, and especially at the end, how she sees and experiences all these boss fights and and monsters is incredible, and I think is super. It pays off so much at the end because it feels like it just comes together. It's almost like, man. Anyways, without spoiling is very hard to talk about here, Asa. But I know you know what I'm talking about. That moment.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And when you realize, oh my god, like this is a incredible, accurate story of how humans see and take advantage of things. And I can't wait for the audience to kind of talk about that and have an open discussion about all this stuff. But I thought it was beautiful. I have so much more to say in this, but I want to use that as a back and forth because it's easier for me to combine what I want to say after listening to some people, and I'll butt into your thoughts about it and bounce off of you, Asa. What did you think of Hellblade 2? I freaking enjoyed it. I thought it comes together. Yeah.
It's interesting to me to hear that the character resonates so much better for you than she did for me this time around. So I think this one falls well short of the first one. In that particular element, it's weird because the first one, the game is carried by the depiction of Senua and the very serious, very deep issues that it explores, and the rest of the game was kind of turdy, right? Like most of it was not. I really, really liked the first Hellblade. I hold it in really high esteem, but nobody would say that the gameplay was particularly compelling or endearing. In this one, I think the tale of Senua is brought down a couple of notches. I don't think it is as good or as well told or as well realized because she's just not in as interesting a place to tell that story.
Yes. She's in a different place, yeah.
She's in a different place, which, again, without spoiling, like... yeah, it's not the same level of intensity in the story that it is trying to tell, but every other element has been brought up and raised a bit. So it's a better rounded package without that flagship quality carrying it through. And then you get to these inevitable questions about whether the gameplay is fun or not, and all of these kind of things that people were asking about the first one. While they're better than they were before, it's maybe more of a hindrance that they might fall short to some people, if that makes sense. So
the first bounce off here is that so that's where I want to get to it. I love having the back and forth, so it helps me focus a little bit. So on that point, so that's a big point that people keep coming to, right? That it's not as focused. The theme around it is so
just like focus is fine, but go on. Just to clarify my point before you address it, like it is still focused, but it's not as internalized, because she has a role as a hero in this story, and that's less like that's trodden ground. We've had heroes before,
right? Yeah. Okay, so I'll wipe that clear. The what I find so interesting and why I find her more interesting is what I said on the top. The story itself is like she's still the same Senua, so she calls back. You'll see during the game where you hear a certain voice, and every time that certain voice comes, you get a shock. You're like, ooh, like it's classic depression where you think you beat something, but you're just a little better at it, and the past is always like it always comes back to you. Always comes back. That's her battle here, is fighting the past off, fending it off while pushing forward and pushing others forward that she identifies as having the same issues as her. And I find that they thread that line so fucking beautifully, because she, again, like you said, she's kind of a hero in a hero spot, but kind of not, right? Like she wants to grow herself, and it disguises itself as a revenge story, but it's very much not. Like it really does present, oh, I'm gonna go have my revenge. The scope opens, but that's part of the thread. That's part of her psychology at that point. It's her.
The empathy that she shows in certain moments is beautifully well done. Like her being able to recognize things that other people wouldn't because of her experiences, right? Is like,
that's part of it, right? Where it's a grander story from the point of like, oh my god, this is so hard to explain for me because it's so nuanced. But the first one was so secluded, so small and grounded, because she's the one that's going through all these battles because she is so alone in them, right? And then going after this little revenge story because she feels like she's built herself more. She goes after, this is not that much of a spoiler, but she gets into a position where she can kind of get a certain revenge on these people. But it quickly turns around into getting back into a community and growing a community and being part of a community again after being completely destroyed and losing everything that she has. And I find that an interesting story. And of course, that's going to largen the scope. So she sees bigger, she sees more, right? And I find it's part of the theme of the game. She sees that bigger world. She sees more to do. She sees people that she needs to help, or she thinks she needs to help. And it helps herself. And the past, gets in the way of it. And that's classic depression cycles, right? So I love that. I just love that. I love this part of Senua, period. And I think that's, like, we could go on to it as the more we get into the discussion. But when it comes to the combat, though, I want to say something about the combat.
Before you get into combat, I just want to pick out what I took from everything you said there, which was, you're right, Asa. Games can be so much more than Mario. You were right, Asa. That's the bit.
100%.
Just focus in on that. You were right, Asa.
No,
Okay,
look,
good.
look. I'm gonna admit it. I'm gonna admit it because this game made me believe that. Because I swear to God, I didn't. I think I have a. It's it's part it's part because I feel a very personal connection to this version of Senua, though. I think that if you don't have my connection to Senua in this one, it might land like the reviews. But I have such a deep connection with this part of Senua that everything was heightened. Everything was so enhanced. I loved this Senua. I loved the fact that she was trying so hard to do what she set out to do. And I love the theme of fear in this one and identifying it and beating it. I love all of this. Anyways, can I get on to combat?
Yeah.
Or do you
Yeah, I
want to say
enjoyed
something
that.
about
Carry on.
combat?
No,
Combat?
you
like
go
combat.
first.
I haven't
Okay.
played a lot of combat, but I've done
Mm.
the first
Yeah.
boss, and it felt meaty and visceral and weighty, and I was impressed by that.
Mm, yeah.
Um,
Um,
it's gritty. It's surprising. Like
mhm,
it's not surprisingly gritty actually, but it's very gritty. I'm very impressed with that.
mhm,
Speak on it,
it
man.
is.
Go for it.
So,
What were you going to say?
so w- the first game was so not my style at all. I think the first game they tried to have I don't know, they tried it almost felt like the combat they're like how do we kind of make this appealing for some people but not horribly terrible. So they put in like the dodge, the counter attack. They put in the like run, break the shield moment. They put in the pummel attack. They put in all these things just to be appealing as an action combat type of style sequence. Um, but it didn't glue together to me at all. It had that like people. It's funny because people are like, "Well, you made it smaller and you took things away. You took the pummel away." By the way, they took the pummel, break the shield away, right, Asa? They took the sprint attack away. I believe you can't like sprint and she does a
No,
move.
I
I
don't
think that
remember
was.
the combat in the first game, besides it being
I'm
like
pretty sure.
broadly serviceable and not a feature that
Yeah.
was worth like
Yeah.
much.
So
Carry on.
they took a charge, like you run, and then when you press the thing, and she breaks the shield or whatever, she'll do like a charge attack, run attack, and I think there was a counter, which is a perfect parry. I think in this game, I'm not sure the nuances. I did play them close to each other, but I'm pretty sure.
It was a perfect parry in the first one as well. It was it was
Yeah.
still a parry mechanic.
Okay, but they took away a counter attack, I think, of some sort. But regardless, um, this game feels so fluid and real at times, and I love it. I love every moment of this combat. Like it does have like what 4 or 5 main choreography moves that she'll yell and swing the sword certain ways. Um, but there's one key difference that I love about this game is that in the first game you'll have this arena, this small little arena, and then these 4 guys will be, or 2 guys or 1 guy will be visible, and then they shoot, let's say, out of the shadows 2 more guys, or sometimes you go into the arena and then there's 4 waiting for you, and you attack them at once, and it never felt satisfying because you felt like they're just coming out of it's just so immersion breaking that having some dude just pop out of the shadow and it looks so weird and distracting, or you're like in a sequence like you're doing a killing blow attack and then a guy will swing at you and miss you and you're like what the fuck, like it's so weird. Or they all do that freaking martial art combat movie scene where they all just stand there, wait for you to kill each other and they'll come at you. It felt so awkward and weird in the first one. I'm so taken aback how people are receiving this one because they did it so well where yes, they give you that one-on-one combat, but they also broaden your view and scope of the combat field. And they put you in these sequences that look so beautiful and eye-catching. They're so distracting, these set pieces. And the voices, the faces that they make, the body language, everything is so much better in this game. and it just feels so natural. And they also do this thing where you'll get, so it's one-on-one combat, you'll call the opponent, you'll go in there, you'll fight them, and then as soon as you do a finishing blow, you'll have a tiny window of scripted combat where it'll feel like there's more people in that arena, which there are, they're just not coming at you at the same time. They'll come and like break up the scene, like grab your shoulder and punch you, and then that's how you start the second fight. And then within that scene, you know, you're fighting a guy, and then you do another sequence, and then, I don't know, a guy will come save you, like this weird, like a villager will come in and take a spear to the head, and then you'll fight the guy who shot the spear. Like, the sequences they make and set up for the next fight and the next fight within the same arena is so well done that you don't notice it's one-on-one most of the time. You don't notice. Or to me, at least, I never cared.
Go on. It's not like I can really jump in with like a huge amount of experience in the game, because again, I've only played a little bit, but
Right,
speaking on
but
what
you'll
you're saying
get
right now, everything feels every combat encounter feels like a set piece every single time
yeah.
so far. It's really cool. I was gonna very quickly show, because I haven't sent this to Asa, but
Yeah.
playing around in photo mode in the middle of a combat encounter, there's this point where Senua basically, like, this is Sparta kicks from 300
Mhm.
this guy in the chest. I've got this here. I don't know if you can see that on screen,
Yep.
and it just
Yeah.
I just keep
It's
on
crazy,
capturing
and
stuff like that, and just
dude,
I can't get
it
enough
gets
of
a
it.
lot better.
It's crazy.
Dude,
Yeah, I can tell.
Headley, you'll get to points where those sequences that I'm talking about happen. So you'll get the
Mhm.
finishing blow, let's say a perfect parry into a kill or a neck slice, and right after that, the guy will grab you, like a guy behind you will grab you in the shoulder and punch you, and then start the next combat. But then,
Mhm.
as you're fighting him, you'll have that Avengers moment where a villager will be running by and get, you know, as you're fighting this dude and get stabbed in front of you, and then you fight him. You're like, what the hell? And you fight him, and then your friend will save you from a spear and get hit. And it's just like, what the hell is going on here? And it feels so satisfying, and it
Mm.
feels satisfying and so much
Mhm.
better than anything I've experienced in the first game, combat-wise.
It
Combat
feels like everything's
scenario-wise.
done with purpose
I
and precision
I
to
really don't see
just
the comparisons. I really don't see the comparisons at all with the first game. I'm gonna say something wild, but in the first 1 hour and 30 minutes of Hellblade 2, I saw and felt so much more than the entire game of 1. Not in the way of the story and the emotions. Like Asa said on top, it's very much more personal in the first one. It really is. Everything that is said and done is very personal, and you feel everything in the voices and the story and the payoffs. You feel that. But when it comes to the scenery and the fights and the arenas is incredible, and the way that they do the bosses in this game,
Mm.
also they're more spectacle, and the fights before the boss is more of the boss encounter itself. So it's a very interesting blend. And first hour 30 minutes, I've seen more than the first game. So I don't know. I can't see the comparison, but I could be wrong. Asa very much loves the first game, so I want to see what he thinks about all my little takes
so
here.
the combat in particular, you're right mostly in what you say. I'm not disagreeing with you. I would say that Hellblade 1 is a very low bar for combat, so I'm not making a direct comparison with the combat between the two as such, but more so whether the combat is just like standing on its own in Hellblade 2, is it good or bad? And the way that you described it is accurate. I love that there's no interface. It doesn't tell you what to do pretty much whatsoever. You just get on with it and play, and that's brilliant. The presentation, freaking phenomenal. Those little scripted events that you were talking about, the way that something can just like happen and break up the action, someone comes in and gets stabbed in the eye or whatever else. If you replay the same combat encounters, those are like, it's soft scripted. It will, which events take place does kind of vary a little bit, or at least the timing of them varies a little bit, which keeps it nice and fresh if you are doing it. I would say that the combat isn't good gameplay. Despite all of those things that it's doing so well, the presentation that it offers is phenomenal. It's incredible, but mechanically, it is very, very simplistic and very, very easy. It's really forgiving on all of its timings. It's very, like, in terms of what you're pressing and the actions available to you in any given moment, super simple. And I'm not saying this is a criticism. So for me,
it being quite easy.
Yeah, and if you are looking at it, like purely trying to analyze it and compare its gameplay to, like, I don't know, a From game or a God of War or whatever else, then it is nothing like those, and it's not supposed to be. And the thing that, the conclusion that I arrive at with Hellblade is I would not want to put that combat system into any other game, and I would not want any other game's combat system to come into Hellblade, because the presentation that they do achieve is so important to what Hellblade 2 is and the experience that they're delivering. So no, it's not compelling gameplay in its own right. It's not a good combat system to go, I'm just going to do combat for 3 hours. It wouldn't work. It would get really tedious, really boring, because it is simple. But it delivers what Hellblade needs. It delivers that intensity. It delivers that heavy hitting, like, fighting for your life experience that they're going for. Through, it's simple for the player, but incredibly complicated what they deliver from, like, a development perspective, and how smoothly it all strings together. So I agree with you, Gamzly, but not in terms of, like, I think you like the core of the combat more than I do. I like the presentation, that I like the end result, what it looks like on my screen, more so than I like the feel of it.
Yeah, so that's interesting you say that, because I could respect that take wholeheartedly, but there's a small pushback here. Like, I agree, maybe if they had, I don't know, more time, or they decided that they want to actually improve the combat in the next game and really focus on that and take the time necessary to kind of enhance the move set, like put more choreography in there. They have more time to get in some new weapons, maybe instead of a sword, maybe a spear. Maybe she, like, grabs a spear and chucks it at a guy's head and takes it out, or different weapon variety. I do agree that is a possibility, and they could do that, and that would actually enhance it a lot, right? But here's where I think a lot of people looking for that is killing this game a little bit, because I think there needs to be subgenres. So I wouldn't say what is a comparative game here that we could say, if this is a genre type, maybe, well, like what? Not even Alan Wake. Alan Wake 2 is
you won't
similar
find,
in,
like, AAA equivalent games, because they don't exist. You need to look more to the indie space, and then you look at things like Indica and stuff, but they're, like, it's a very different, unusual thing.
This I think that Sony, or Sony specifically, if they choose to go and make this thing, they're the only people in my brain that could do it with a big budget and the amount of, I don't know, money they put in. I think this would benefit them a lot, because I think this genre of game can exist side by side with other things. I think these short experiences are beautiful. These short stories are incredible. I think there's a space here. I think it's incredibly expensive if you try to put them in a bigger light. Like, if you try to enhance it too much, it becomes way too expensive. Like, this game, if you try to make it into a God of War scenario, you try to blow it up, it will just be too hard to make, and too much funds pouring into it, that I don't think it ever gets off the ground. I think if people want better combat, bigger areas, I don't know, whatever, make this thing into God of War. This is a 10-year game and billions of dollars, right? I think this should exist. This subgenre of game should exist, and I think it succeeds heavily in what this subgenre is. And I don't know any other way to make it better than what it was, with what the time put into it. Like 4 years, I think, right, Asa? I think 4 years.
Oh, I don't know, something like.
Yeah, something like 4 years, and I think I mean, this sits where it's supposed to sit, and they balance it very well, and I can't wait for another style of game like this, and I think it really does well for Game Pass here. I think these small experiences like this, even though I don't know if it's AAA budget, I don't know the budget in this game, but if they could get a cadence with small types of games like this that hit so hard and they're impactful, I
Mm.
think this is beautiful and will work out very well in
I'd
this
be
format.
I'd be quite interested to know the budget of this game, because I think one of the criticisms that I've seen, and again, I don't take it very seriously. I think it actually was just some idiot on Twitter, just screenshotting how long it took to finish the game and
Yes.
going, "Oh, it
I
took
welcome
them
it.
more than 5 years to make a 5 hour game." I'm like, it's a
Well, why
5 hour
the hell do
game
you
if you want
care,
it to
bro?
be.
Why do you care?
First of all,
Yeah,
it's so.
why do we care,
First of
right?
all, the problem with calling it a 5 hour game is you can make it last 5 hours if you want, or you can make it last 18 hours if you want. And also this week, we saw a journalist, which I'm not going to name, but I will say I am disappointed in. Um, sort of quote tweet another mutual on Twitter, basically criticizing his playtime, going, "There's no way you put 13 hours into this game unless you spent a load of time solving puzzles badly or failing at combat, or you spent all your time in photo mode." And it's like, who gives a shit if you did those things? Like, why is that a problem? Why is that a problem? I spent literally half of my playtime this morning
Mhm.
in photo mode, and I had a really good time. So how people
Bro,
play games is completely
deadly.
up to them.
Deadly.
The
I
Go on.
welcome Deadly. I welcome this game length. I thought like if you could make me feel the way you did in 5 hours in any game
It's
like
impressive. Yeah.
this, and like the first one, Asa, right? The
I
first one
think
is also very short, and it is extremely effective and extremely just hits you in the face, and I think
where I'm
it's a
interested
welcome thing, but
in where budget comes in, and Illegal Dad has actually said in the chat, like, they rightfully so, they lost a lot of time due to COVID, because obviously there was a hell of a lot of mocap that went into this game, and you can't mocap in the middle of a pandemic, so they lost a lot of time to that. So already feels a bit disingenuous to go, it took 5 years to make a quote unquote 5 hour game. Um, I think it's also worth bearing in mind that I believe Ninja Theory's team it wasn't massive. It was never, big AAA scale. So therefore, you're not having to fund a AAA workforce for 5 years, which is where you're going to get a lot of budget costs when you have to sustain, the livelihoods of so many people. So I think the budget conversation is an interesting one. And again, we're not usually privy to that sort of information, but again, it would be quite interesting to know. Um, the impact of that, and then Microsoft's impressions, especially with some of the discourse that we've seen from Microsoft closing studios and stuff. I'd like to know Microsoft's honest, and I use that word loosely, reaction to um, Ninja Theory's latest effort. Um,
uh,
the other thing I wanted to bring up very quickly, because I think sort of on the topic of reviewing stuff, is I had a thought earlier about what I think a review should be, because I think that's where a lot of the conversation sort of gets a little bit disjointed, in that we've obviously seen some reviews on Metacritic that have given it quite a low score for not being the type of game that they necessarily want to play. And the note that I've written says, if a review shouldn't punish a game for something that it's not. It should critique it for where it falls flat. And I think it's really important that that
mm,
nuance is distinguished and used properly in a review environment. I haven't had enough experience with the game to say whether or not that has happened, but you guys
I
have.
I,
Where do you feel it sits generally?
I
Mm.
I okay. Um, again. I'm a person, so that the people understand. I'm a person that, again, does not enjoy the cinematic stuff in my video games. I don't. Um, and like I said on the top, this is one of the games that surprised me and came from nowhere and hit me in the face. I think that the spectacle in this game, like the environments and just the sheer showcase of this game, like just the what they do and the techniques they use to make this world feel so much bigger than it is and so much grander. Maybe story beats fall a little short, or maybe the combat isn't as aggressive as you want it to be. Aggressive meaning like, yeah, you know, bigger or grander, let's say. Um, it's just it hits different. I love where this game is, and I love that it exists. And I love that studios are trying this stuff, and this is the exact same reason why Microsoft bought them. And I hate that the conversation always comes back to because Microsoft needs these games. I hate that the conversation comes back after every time a game like this exists, that it's like, oh well, does it benefit Microsoft? It's like, dude, I don't, budgets and all this shit, I don't care. If you give me a game like this, okay, which has a place, and should have a place, because there's places for all sorts of sub genres, and in other mediums like books and stuff like that. There's places for this type of game, especially because of budgets. This game does so much right. I just don't care about the critic at this moment. This game should be played. Whoever's listening to this, go play it, and stop. I think our biases and our little the sides of ourselves, that the sports fans in us, or the fans in us of the box or the company, is really killing this stuff. Not necessarily the reviews. It's us killing this stuff. It's us. It's our little fandom that's killing these games. Go play this game, guys. Drop your controller when you want to drop your controller. This thing has this game has a option, I believe, and the option is that you can actually just let it play itself and watch. Go experience this. This is Asa, when you told me, hey, games could be more than, your Super Marios, I always laughed and scoffed, It's true, I did. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I read books and I watch movies.
That. You laughed and scoffed on mute off camera. You didn't let me know.
Yeah. I have books. I like books. I like movies. I'll go get it there, But this game is truly special when you don't put all that baggage on it. All your little logo wars on it, or all your ego on it for losing so many logo battle wars or whatever, and all your biases. Go play this game and just experience it. Because if this style of game goes away because, we want to be dicks and we have some sort of weird outlook on these things, it's going to be a sad day. Go play it, and so Ninja Theory can continue to make these freaking games and make this style of game. I think there's a place for them. Even if it's not what you want, there's a place for them. Anyways, go play this game.
So, yeah, it is obviously quite a unique game in what it's trying to deliver, and there is an expectation when you go into games that they are supposed to deliver a certain amount of fun and joy, and they're called video games, so people just perceive them that way. This game very much challenges that. The first game very much challenged that, and if you look around the indie space, there are other games that challenge that, but there are so many flaws in the way that. Well, yeah, there's so many flaws in the way that the industry typically does review games and tries to hold them all to a particular standard. And on the one hand, I can almost respect it if someone looks at this game and they've gone into it with the expectation that it is a video game and they are going to have fun, and they review it honestly and say, I didn't have fun, this is getting a really terrible score on my review scale. I wouldn't lambast them and condemn them too hard for coming away with that conclusion, but at the same time, that's not it's not a good way to critique a game. Because if you're looking at Hellblade 2 and you cannot recognize the quality of the art and presentation, and you cannot give it any credit for the things that it's doing, even if you don't like the game, I'm not sure That's really what a
And I
review
think it's
should
important
be.
to add that was Ninja Theory's mission statement. The Ninja Theory's mission statement was, I think it was groundbreaking art with game-changing tech and designed to deliver a tight, condensed narrative package. It wasn't meant to be a super long game. It wasn't meant to have any bloat. It wasn't meant to even to I haven't what I really like about it is how it respects your time, and also it respects you as a player in terms of not giving you more than you actually need. I'm assuming that there are no HUD elements throughout, because I certainly haven't seen any so far unless I'm in photo mode. It doesn't even tell you, oh, press this button to go over a ledge, or it doesn't spoon feed you with any of the shit that you don't really need to be told if you've
You know
played
what's
more
funny?
than one video game
Actually,
ever. Go
I
on.
started it today because I'm doing this review, and I thought I'll have a look at the Xbox version as well. I played this on the PC. I fired it up on the Xbox version. As it went on, it flashes up the controls, and I just saw it said on there. It said B, interact. I'm like, I've finished this game and I don't remember pressing that button a single time. What does B do? Interact? Does it? Yeah, there is no HUD and no interface. Just get on with it.
I jumped in and changed my controls. So that was one tip that I'd seen floated around Twitter, which was swapping the sprint button out to the left stick, parry to the left bumper, because I think by default it's on the right bumper, and it feels a little bit weird when all of your combat buttons are also on the same side of the controller. So those were some really helpful tips. And I also noticed that B was interact. I actually tried to change A to interact, and it sort of let me kind of keep both. But the only time I ever used those buttons was like if I'm moving through a piece of scenery, and voices led me that more than voices actually. I was convinced that there was something there, and there wasn't. And the voices that then torment Senua and the player when you get yourself into a very sticky situation by thinking that you're going to help somebody and you're not, you really feel the weight of everything that's going on. And the only part of progressing is you have to sort of press an action button to move some objects out of the way and stuff, but it's not doesn't spoon feed you any of that information. And I quite like that a lot. I've spoken, and again, I don't want to make this a plastic trophy thing, but something that has typically bugged me with some PlayStation experiences over time, when I've gotten to a certain point in the game, I feel like my time isn't necessarily as respected as much, or maybe certain things are dragged out a little bit too much. I'm getting almost too much help from certain characters and things like that. Again, I'm super early in Hellblade, so maybe that changes. The most helpful hints that I've had from the game itself have been audio cues and things like that, and again, that's been really useful. But I can't hand on heart, compare it to a PlayStation game, and I'm not trying to, by the way, because I haven't finished the game.
I know what you're getting at,
I need to
and I know like there's particular PlayStation games where the characters will speak aloud, like the answers to puzzles and things like that. Hellblade 2 does encroach into that territory for me.
It does.
Your psychosis is your superpower a little
well.
later on.
Yeah, I've noticed it do that early on. I like how it's done. It feels less heavy-handed than the one that always sticks in my mind is 2018's God of War. You walk into a big room where there's a big wheel at one end of it, and before you can even acknowledge everything that's in that room, Atreus just goes, "Hey, there's a big wheel over there. Maybe that's our way out." And I'm like, dude, just give it 5 minutes before piping up with something like
Definitely
that. Definitely
doesn't encroach as heavily as those, yeah. But
yeah, it's when it's too heavy-handed and that illusion starts to it just gets shattered. I'm like, I just feel a bit patronized. As long as it doesn't get to that point, I can't really complain about it, because of course you need a bit of a helping hand, and I really like some of the audio cues that I was getting from Hellblade 2. As long as it doesn't feel too heavy-handed, I can't really complain about that too much. So I need to see how that goes. Go on.
Okay. The puzzles. Okay. So the puzzles, first off, in this game there's 2-ish deliveries, right? There's the without getting into heavy spoilers.
Just 2, and they're very, very simple. Yeah.
There's the alignment one.
There's 2. Yeah, and then there's another focus one that that includes bubbles, and it's the coolest thing. Okay,
Okay,
so
interesting.
the the um the puzzles, kind of like the bosses, okay, in this game, are just like they. And this is where I get some of the criticism, like Asa, like I get the criticism that the gameplay, like, why even be a game at this point? Because the puzzles are so simple that it doesn't even matter that the like, I mean, you basically figure out before the voices start talking, and I'm convinced they did it on purpose. Like, you figure it out. You look around, you know. You're like, oh, you know, and they're talking at the same time and telling you certain things that you're also thinking immediately. So it kind of plays into it to me. And they don't really bother me in that way. I just kind of take them as like a background noise and me thinking to myself kind of thing. So I took it a very different way, and the puzzles are so simple, it doesn't really matter. But what I will say about the puzzles and the combat, for the same reason that people are angry at the puzzles and the combat, like, the point of it is what is happening right in front of you and in those moments and how beautiful they are. Now, I'm gonna say one thing, like, Asa, the water moment, okay? I'm just gonna
Mhm.
say the water moment, right? That is what I'm trying to, like, just seeing that happen. You place your hand on the thing, and the thing goes down, and then, oh, and then you see that moment in the water, and you're like, my God, Jesus. And it's almost like the puzzles didn't freaking matter. Like that, the puzzles were just like, go do this thing, and you're like, okay, this is interesting. You see it, it's easy, it doesn't hold you back, you don't get frustrated. It's just really easy to do. You do the thing, and then you're rewarded with this beautiful visual presentation, and you're like,
Boring, though, innit?
holy crap. Or a donut.
Like, as
And
criticisms
you're like,
go,
holy.
though, there were definitely, like, people aren't lying when they go into it and say they don't like it, they find it boring, they didn't enjoy the combat, they didn't enjoy the puzzles and all the rest of it. They're not all just disingenuous, like, people arguing for the sake of it.
No. No, they're not. They're, yeah, go ahead.
That was all really. Like, when I say,
Yeah.
if you're appraising it critically, you're like, I would have hated to have been stuck on a puzzle in the game. So for me, the fact that they were, like, very easy, there are no sticking points in the entire game. If you do die in combat, it doesn't matter. It just puts you back like one guy 10 seconds back from where you were, and you carry on. There are no sticking points. The game wants you to progress through it and see it in the pacing that's been designed.
Isn't that really cool though?
And
doesn't
well,
that,
it is, like, because Deadly Headley was talking earlier about the length of the game and it being short, and for me, it didn't outstay its welcome at all. I didn't want it to be longer. The length was fine. I have no issue from, like, the design perspective, what the experience was and how I got to engage with it. At the same time, I'm not dismissing people's concerns on value. If they are spending that $50 or whatever it is, 50 monies, then by all means have those, like, have your perception of value, whether it's worth it to you, whether it's not. I hope, like you do, Gamzly, that the industry can support games and experiences like this for a very long time, whether that be as a result of Game Pass, which was kind of one of the strengths of Game Pass a while ago before they started pivoting and focusing on sales again. I hope that all of this recognition from Microsoft that they need to sell their games, I hope this doesn't damage what gets greenlit. Because a game like this in a market where it needs to sell might not get greenlit. And I don't, this isn't so much about the rumors about what has and hasn't already happened, but typically, I'm glad that the industry today can support a game like this.
Yeah. I'm gonna do a little game before we step off, because we gotta get to the topics. This is crazy.
We do.
By the way, the I think we should heavily have a, once Deadly Headley is done, or Darge is done, or whatever he is done, I think we should have an actual spoiler cast of this game
That would be good.
one day. I don't know if it's possible, because I find that there's so much things I want to say, so much things that hit me really hard,
I'd like to go into
and
that.
have those
And
conversations.
yeah,
Because
and
I find
actually,
that
on
it
a
could.
personal level, some of what you've touched on tonight is kind of close to home to some personal shit that
Yeah.
I'm going
S-
through at the moment as well. So
So I would love
being
to have a
able to
spoiler
actually
cast.
just have a really good open chat about where we're at from it and how we can relate to it, and for it to be broadcast, I'm up for that. Are
Yeah.
we?
Also,
There was
oh
one
yeah,
more thing that I
well,
was
there's
going to
one.
say on Hellblade 2. Have you got another thing as well? You do yours, and then I'll
Yeah.
do mine.
Okay, so really quick, this is just a fun thing. I would just want to call out some things very vaguely. I don't want to see if Asa, you just say liked or didn't like. Can I do that?
As long as
Very
it
general things.
really isn't going to spoil things for the
It's
many
it's
people that are
it's
watching right now.
nope.
Ever so delicate.
It's totally fine. It's totally fine. Okay. Um. Uh, so kind of like the water moment. Okay. So the water moment, liked it, didn't like it. What about it? Did you like the water moment? Like, did you feel like, oh shoot? Like, did you get a reaction when you saw the water
I
go
can't
down the way it
answer
did?
that without spoiling things.
I feel uncomfortable about this
No, no, just say
conversation
yes. Yeah, just say you
No,
liked it.
because it's a more nuanced answer.
because I'm now
So
Yeah?
I
listening,
think,
looking out for water in future. So I'd rather
yeah,
Oh, there's lots of
yeah.
not
water. There's a
go
lot
down
of
this
water. There's a lot of water. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Not that one. Fine. Okay. Let's say okay. You know what? Fine. We won't do it then. Oh, that
Yeah,
I'm
sucks.
sorry,
good
bro.
So
choice.
much.
Fine
Keep it really,
choice.
really vague
So
because
much.
there will be other
Yeah, we
people
can't
who
do
have
it.
played even
Yeah,
less than I have.
that sucks. We'll
Um,
save it for another time. All right, go ahead, Denley.
the only other thing I was going to say on Hellblade 2 is like if a criticism, if there is a criticism that they want more of the thing that they've had, I think that's fair enough. I think it's a really fair complaint if your biggest complaint is I want more of it. I don't necessarily think it's right to deduct points from a review for that, but I get it. I understand that position.
It's
I
do you know,
would
Deadly
like
Headley,
to
just real quick
see.
on that, because
Go on.
for me, like the question of wanting more of it is part of it, but it's like it's a parallel question on whether it's delivered the value that you paid for. And whenever I do
Yes.
reviews, I'm really, really careful. I'm really, really specific. If somebody says to me, like, is Hellblade worth $50? I will never say yes or no to a question like that, because value is such a personal thing. Like everyone's circumstances, disposable
Absolutely.
income, all the rest of it, priorities are all so unique to them. But going out and telling
Absolutely.
someone, yes, it's worth it, no, it's not. Yes, it's good value, no, it's not. Doesn't work for me. But
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I also think it's a little bit irresponsible, especially as a reviewer, because again, it's really hard to be objective about something like that, and it's really hard to be objective about the money in somebody else's pocket. Definitely, you can say whether or not it's worth trying on Game Pass and worth your time there if you're already subscribed to Game Pass, because you're in that ecosystem anyway. You're not parting with anything extra to go and experience Hellblade 2. There was one other point I briefly wanted to touch on, and I think maybe it's just a PSA from me, if nothing else, and that is that I've seen a lot of talk around. I guess this is a concern for me in terms of the discourse space and the podcast space and how games are talked about and more importantly hyped up these days. I've seen a lot of talk around, oh, if Ninja Theory can do this with Unreal Engine, the Coalition is gonna make the best Gears of War game of all time, is gonna be, this and this and this and this. You don't know that. And I think personally it is really, really irresponsible to start spinning that yarn prematurely when we don't even fully know that Gears of War 6 exists, even though we more or less do. But also, whatever Gears of War 6 is going to try and achieve is not going to be working to the same mission statement as the one Ninja Theory were with Hellblade 2. So if you're
yeah,
expecting the
people are setting up a
fidelity
problem
to
there.
be, it is a problem, and you're setting this plastic trophy discussion up again for yourself to look like a dick on the internet, because if you think that Gears of War 6 is going to look exactly like Hellblade 2,
Huh.
you're gonna be shocked and
Uh,
you're gonna be really disappointed, because they are going to
you-
be trying to achieve very different things. One is
I'm
far
I'm
more
s-
complicated than the other.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna jump off a cliff right now and say Hellblade 2 is gonna stay the best looking game ever. All right, let's go. Anything else?
Yeah, but like you're right though, because Gears of War 6 is the one that people are saying they're the coalition, they're brilliant with Unreal Engine 5, yada yada yada. Yes, they are. Hellblade 2 runs at 30 frames per second with huge black borders. Gears of War 6 cannot make those same compromises, and people will be hugely disappointed if it makes either of those compromises. The coalition of wizards, Gears of War 6 will probably look phenomenal. Gears of War 5 still looks phenomenal. But if you're going to take Hellblade 2 and try and hold that up as the standard that other studios have to reach, when, as Deadly Headley has just said, their entire ethos is very, very specific and their talent set is very, very exquisite, then yeah, you're just setting up shit discourse ahead of time, and we have enough of that already. Stop it.
They're not trying to do the same thing. There is no
Mm.
intention for those to do the same thing. One is heavily crafted and incredibly scripted. The other, being Gears of War, is going to be much faster paced. There's much more complicated game systems at play. You don't even have objects that you can't opt to pick up objects in Hellblade 2. It doesn't let you. It's not designed to. That alone, like, Gears of War is going to play in a fundamentally different way. And like I said, I'm saying it now before the discourse fucking starts, because you know it will. It is irresponsible to get people to
Yeah,
expect them to be as comparable
but you
as
know
some
what?
people are claiming them to be.
Yeah, but you know what? Our guys over here, the guys watching this podcast right now and probably in the future are good people, so we don't care about that stuff. And they won't. The
No,
people
we don't.
listening here won't
But
compare that stuff. But
the
yeah,
problem that I have is that you will get people try and inflate this hype in the interest of getting their fan base and their followers hyped. And then they just get disappointed and just start taking it out on the brand when it doesn't deliver. We saw it with Starfield, we saw it with Hellblade, and we'll see it with Gears 6.
mm,
And
yeah,
it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because people don't fully understand the shit that they're saying.
yeah.
That's it.
So poo-poo those people. But thank God we don't have those people in the chat. So yeah. Next, do you guys have anything else on Hellblade? I am impressed by it, and I hope we have a spoiler cast, and that's all I got to say about that.
I don't
Yeah.
think so. I'm also up for a spoiler
All right,
cast, and I'm going
Asa.
to keep playing if photo mode doesn't distract me, because you're going to have to take it away from me. I'm spending too much time in it, and I'm not even
Yeah.
sorry. It's just wonderful. Karen.
You give me some stuff to think about, Gamzly. I'm seriously considering a minor tweak to my review, but I'm probably not going to, because it's a very good review. It's going to be brilliant. Look out for that if you want to hear more about Hellblade 2. Let's move on. Gamzly, you
I'm
look
gonna
like
be
you've got the
disappointed,
document open in front of your face.
Do you? I
What are
do.
we on?
What are we talking about? Okay. So
Yeah.
the quick one that I oh my god, the first topic in like an hour 30 minutes. That's awesome. Let's see. Xbox and AI. So did you see so Xbox had a little Surface event where they like showcased a bunch of their new products and their AI push and Copilot and all that stuff and how it's going to work in certain cases and certain software. I find it kind of I found the whole event kind of cool. And when they popped this demo on the screen, I was pretty interested, but also there's bad things that come with it. But did you get to see any of this stuff, like the
Is
Minecraft demo
this...
with
Yeah,
Copilot?
I was going to ask if you split them up. So this is the Minecraft natural language Copilot. Talk to it about your inventory and how to make a sword and all that kind of bollocks, right?
Yes. See this
Yes,
stuff?
yes, I did see some of that. Deadly Headley, have you got awareness of this? Have you seen the presentation or any of it?
No, so this all dropped while I was dealing with family emergency stuff. So I actually missed all of this, I'm afraid.
Well, you're gonna have a good time. What did you think, Asa?
Good.
So specifically on that one, I don't want to talk to Minecraft. I don't like talking to computers. I used to have Cortana hooked up to my phone and car when I had a Windows phone. Cortana was pretty good as a voice recognition system, but I didn't like talking to it. I do not want to talk to Minecraft. I do not want to talk to Hellblade. I do not want to talk to anyone else. But the concept I'm lying completely. I talk to Skyrim all the time on a regular basis, so there are pros and cons to it. It can work really well. Natural language exploration can actually be, it can add a lot to a game. Not necessarily that one, but games that have NPC interactions, if you start hooking them up properly and allowing for like more natural flowing conversations, give an NPC, stick them in front of you, give them some information on how the player actually try and dig that out of them with relevant questions and things, let that conversation flow naturally, you can get compelling gameplay out of that. I believe anyway. But it's going to be a while until we see anything like that delivered, and I'm not sure if like, obviously AI, you've got lots of issues. Natural language is like slightly simple but also expensive. If you're connecting this up to the internet and you're doing it all back and forth, it's expensive to run. So I don't know what we'll see on like at scale as we go forward. What do you envision, Gamzly? What's exciting about it to you?
Yeah, there's what you just said is exciting. Like I wanna get into a Skyrim and kind of have that AI companion, which there are AI companions out right now in Skyrim and you know all that stuff. But I want my next like Elder Scrolls companion to have that natural flow of conversation, or like help go, you know, hijack some dude's wallet in GTA by talking him into giving you his wallet or something like that. I love the idea of that, and I hope this comes to that. I'm scared of, so how they showed it off was really interesting, because if you didn't know, the Copilot stuff on the Surface laptops and all these Copilot laptops that are coming out, all of it is stored on the device itself, and I find that very interesting. And there's a recall feature that I'm going to talk about that is also quite interesting. So, which people are also mad about, is that rightfully so, because it's very private. It's privacy. It has a lot to do with privacy and concerns like that. So this recall feature will basically take note. Well, not take note, but understand exactly what you're doing on your screen at all times, all the time. All the time. It's just looking at everything you're doing and storing it, not to the cloud, so you can turn that option off. You can also feed it to the cloud, right? So it's almost like they're using everybody's personal computer to feed the AI algorithms, because we know that's a problem in the future. Because they're feeding it, it takes so much to feed this thing. So they're basically saying, hey, users, you be our generator, you know? And it's quite horrifying in a way, but quite interesting in another. Because, for instance, there's a program on Adobe or Photoshop right now that they pushed where a guy like me could go around with my little notebook, all right, and scribble down a scene for my D&D campaign. Like there's a demo that the guy's drawing on the tablet, and he draws basically like stickmen, and the AI polishes it up completely and makes it look beautiful. And it's just like those tools, right? In creation are so intriguing to me. It's so interesting because it's going to enable a lot of good ideas and a whole lot of bad ideas. And that's my thing, is that there's going to be pendulum swing upwards so fast that there's going to be so much garbage fed to you, right? Including like the game AI stuff, where it's going to start feeding you crappy information if there's not enough good information out there. It's going to start feeding you like, how do I make a sword in Minecraft? And then some article is trying to take advantage of that and feeds it bullshit information, and then it grabs from that, and then you know it all goes overboard. It's very complex and weird. So that stuff is horrible, and there's going to be an upswing of terrible crap that's coming out for probably decades. But when it freaking swings the other way and starts to balance, it's super exciting and super interesting. But yeah, I kind of can't wait for that future of balance. Like when it's balanced, how long it takes if I'm still alive, and there's a balance in this AI stuff and graphic stuff and open language, and everything feels human in these games, and we can create things very easy and have still artistry in it. it's going to be an exciting time. I just don't know when that's going to happen, but I'm excited for it, and hopefully I'm alive.
So, are we going to see that on the next Xbox? Are we going to say, how do I build a pickaxe naturally to Minecraft on the next Xbox running locally on that hardware?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. They want that because they want it in dev kits, right? Like you gotta think like they're making this this whole event really showed me with ARM especially. By the way, ARM was in the center of this. They want to make this a big thing, and you can tell. And if their new Xbox doesn't have features for this, which just wouldn't make sense to me, I think this is their push, and I think they're going to put in everything, and they need it in dev tools. They need devs to be using it. It has to be there.
Wow. So Microsoft quite often use Minecraft as like a demo station for things that you can do to try and improve the future or whatever, because it's simplistic in a lot of ways. So it's a good way to just show a concept. But is Minecraft a better game because you can say, how do I make a pickaxe? And it finds items for you in your inventory.
Say that again.
Do you think it, like the demo that Microsoft did of this Copilot AI, specific demo on Minecraft, where they're like, how do you make a pickaxe or iron sword or whatever it was, the question that they asked it, does that actually make Minecraft a better game?
Well, it makes it an easier game, but the question was, the AI stuff, like, so the Copilot, the AI, like the programs and the software, and all this stuff, this shtick, these features will be in the next Xbox. Will it make Minecraft a better game in the stage that it is at this moment? Probably not. But the features and the software need to be packed in the console so that in the dev kits, developers could make something at a later date, like I said, when there's an overabundance of crap, or whatever. When it balances,
fair, without AI, there's already an overabundance of crap, isn't there? So that's like that's not a new problem. You ever been on TikTok?
No, but it's a different crap. It's different crap. You know?
Deadly
it's
Headley.
different crap. But
I don't think that AI would necessarily. I don't think it would make it a better game. I think that would be the wrong. I don't think that's necessarily the right way to look at it. I think what it would do is enhance it with an additional layer of interaction, and that would make it a better experience. I don't think
at
it
the
would
same time though. But Minecraft in particular, because of its roots and the way that it came to be, when it was forming and people didn't know how to make an iron sword, they got that information through human interaction. So arguably, it actually makes it a far worse experience than it was coming through. Takes away a big element of that.
Is a very, very good point.
Yeah,
very good point.
That's a great point. But so the question will be: will this software, right, to get point of the question, will the next Xbox take advantage of, let's say, this stuff? I think yes, because they have to. Will it make a better game? To your point, games like Minecraft, probably not. But I believe that maybe developers that if they see the same way as you, just don't put the option. But you have to have the option in there for developers to make certain games for it.
Yeah, and I reckon
Xbox has to have it in there to make it a thing. So I think it's gonna do it.
There probably are compelling use cases for it, but Deadly Headley, if you could pick any Xbox IP, or it doesn't need to be like specifically a Microsoft IP, but an IP that you're playing on your Xbox that you'd want to talk to with your actual words, who do you want to talk to in gaming?
So I thought about this while you were teeing up the topic, and actually a really fun use case that I'd get such a kick out of. Imagine you're playing Halo and you say, Cortana, I need a weapon. And Cortana comes back with you can ping. If you press down on the D-pad, you can ping, and it will sort of highlight on your HUD where weapons are, providing you're looking at them, but that's about it. An evolved version of that. So I don't know, maybe Cortana tells you which are like the 3 closest weapons to you, and I would want to be able to do this in the middle of a fight. So one of the game mechanics I've always loved about Halo is sometimes there are those moments in combat where you almost feel like you're juggling weapons because the one that you're carrying is out of ammo. You're going to have to just bin that, grab whatever's next to you, keep firing, keep fighting, move to the next combat situation and the next combat situation to just sort of survive. And I don't know, I end up juggling weapons quite a lot, especially in Halo campaigns, and I really enjoy that way of playing. Asking Cortana where which weapons are nearby you, and maybe she says, these are the three nearest weapons to you, and you go, okay, highlight, I don't know, highlight
Well,
the
that would be
plasma
cool.
rifle, and there's like a little ping on your HUD. If all of that is happening in real time in the middle of a combat situation, that would be fucking sick. I'd love
Yeah,
that.
that would be kind of awesome. Yeah, I
That would be
agree.
really cool.
So long as Microsoft were in the background, just capturing all of the weird people that were trying to flirt with
Yeah.
Cortana, just for public display at a later
Oh my
date.
Imagine it's just like, look at this weirdo. Cortana, will you marry me? No, no, he won't. Yeah, there's gonna be like again, like there's gonna be some weird stuff coming out of this stuff and people doing some weird things as well. So I'm not excited for all of that. Anyway,
Right.
anything else?
AI. Were there any other things from that presentation? I know they had their ARM upscaling and things like that, but that's not interested enough to cover right now. Is there anything else from the whatever talk that was?
Well, the AI upscaling is pretty cool, and kind of the point why you would kind of have this on your next Xbox as well. Like that's the thing that people are trying to push. So again, they want that in their next Xbox, and it's gonna change some things in good ways. No, that's about it. I think that's all I wanted to cover there. It was a very exciting event. I love these little moments of like change. It is scary for most, but I kind of like it. I like change and I like adapting to the things that are happening in tech worlds. So yeah, that's it on that. Anything on the list that pops out to you that you want to talk about?
I want Deadly Headley to introduce this and tell us thoroughly about his experience with XDefiant.
No.
Oh. We'll gloss over XDefiant then, right? It came out on Tuesday, I think. Like actually properly launched, free-to-play game from Ubisoft. It's their take on I guess the Call of Duty style, not Warzone, but the paid Call of Duty multiplayer stuff. A little bit of hero shooter mechanics in there. We haven't played it. I don't intend to play it, but if any of you in chat are XDefiant fans and want to recommend it or tell us to steer well clear, then please do. Apparently it's had a reasonable uptake of players, like 1 million people have given it a go so far or something like that, but only 2 of them have stayed on it. So
This is Ubisoft's new
only
free-to-play.
2 of them.
is what, sorry, Deadly?
Is it free to play?
Ubisoft's new free-to-play, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, fuck it, I'll try it out.
Yeah, I think we should.
Just gonna flex
You
with
and
my
I
new
should.
hard drive
Let's
space.
do it. Let's do it, Headley. You and me,
Ethan
baby.
Migraine says played 2 of the different betas and it's one of the biggest pieces of crap he's ever tried. So there you go.
Wow.
But you two are
Yeah,
going to
we
play
can't
it and you
talk
can tell
much
us about it
about
next
that.
week.
Yeah.
Oh, we got that far.
All right.
So rather than a Call of
We finish Hellblade
Duty,
1 and 2 first, and then we'll go.
you got to do that. Rather than a Call of Duty imitator, then let's talk about Call of Duty, because that we all knew it was coming at the Xbox event June the 9th. They've now confirmed the name. It is no longer redacted. Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Gamzly. Excited?
Yeah. So my hype levels for Call of Duties are very small, but since it's gonna get into Game Pass, I'm gonna probably binge. Like you could probably guess that others will also be coming to Game Pass. I'm gonna probably binge all the stories. So I am kind of hyped for this one, just to go through the story and see what's up, and then of course kick it with my brother for like a month, or well, not a month, but like a few weeks with him, like I usually do. I usually jump into these with him just to give him a kick, and it's his junk food game, you know. So I have to honor his junk food game. So I will hop in there, get some games in, get some kills, probably drop it after that. But my hype levels are okay, you know. I don't think it's gonna be mind blowing. It's a Call of Duty game. Oh my god, it's a. Did you guys hear that? I hope not. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. see what's up. That's all I gotta say about it. I'm excited.
Then, yeah, did you do the Black Ops games in particular? Are they the best of the Call of Duties? Are they the worst?
So again, also not a massive Call of Duty head, but there have been some standouts for me in the franchise. I think the biggest highlight for me in the Call of Duty series as of recent was the first Modern Warfare reboot. And I haven't played 2 and 3, and I am looking forward to those campaigns because I really liked Modern Warfare's rebooted campaign. I thought that was spectacular. The mission in particular, when you're doing like a night raid on a terror cell hideout in London, just such a good mission. And I really, really enjoyed that. I loved Call of Duty Black Ops Cold Wars campaign. I think that was the last Black Ops campaign that I played, and I did really like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing another Black Ops game for sure. I think similar to you, Gamzly, actually one of the biggest things that I'm quite excited for, and I really do hope that Xbox follows through with this, is that when they do, because we have now had it all but confirmed by other journalists, but I'm a little bit annoyed that Band-Aid has sort of been ripped off,
Ripped
but I
off.
still think it's
Yeah, it
going to
was
be a
weird.
big moment for Xbox. I want it to be a big moment for Xbox. I want them to be the ones that go, by the way, we're putting Call of Duty in Game Pass. Boom! This is the big sort of victory that we as a brand can take away with our lengthy battle in court for ABK.
Yeah. Do
Um,
you think it was the
I'm
right way to
hoping that
do it?
that catalog comes with it. I think it will. I think that's going to be a part of the announcement. But go on, Gamsley. What was your question?
Do you think that this was the right way to do it? Like, we know that Activision has their own like cycle, and they really do love marketing Call of Duty, and they really push it a lot. Do you think that it was the right move to like kind of drop this teaser, or well, if you could call it a teaser, drop this teaser and then reveal the name and whatever right now, or should they have held it? They have a
No, I
showcase
think that's fine.
and a thing after. You know what I mean?
I think that's okay. So, um, one thing. I actually think this was Jesse Norris on Xbox Era's headline show. It was either the one that was earlier today or the one earlier this week. I can't remember, but he talked about how marketing cycles for games vary from game to game. Hellblade 2 has had a relatively short and relatively small marketing cycle because I don't think they're expecting the marketing to have that big an impact because it's not necessarily a well-known quantity. Whereas for something like Starfield, the marketing was a lot more visible. It ramped up very, very quickly once that started, and it was really, really hard to not be anywhere where Starfield wasn't being talked about. And Microsoft actually said that it exceeded expectations in terms of sales. So the marketing for Starfield did exactly or more than what it was supposed to do for Microsoft. Call of Duty, and this was the point that Jesse made, is ultimately going to be treated in the same way. It is a known quantity. It is a very popular franchise. It needs that awareness earlier on because it is more of a magnet to hype. It is more of a known quantity, as I keep saying. So it makes sense for this to start ramping up a little bit early. And we've actually seen um Call of Duty's marketing start this week in quite an interesting I can't even really call it viral ad because it got teased in a newspaper, I believe. But I'm pretty sure the site is thetruthlies.com. Let me just double check that.
Yeah, the truth
Yeah,
it's the truth lies,
yeah,
yeah, and then they had a
thetruthlies.com.
video of it.
Yes.
Mm.
So this is a microsite that has launched as part of the marketing campaign for Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Um, and again, we can expect a lot more COD marketing on the way up to here because I think ultimately by teasing Call of Duty more and more and more, you end up ramping up that excitement that you're going to need to garner for people who aren't necessarily going to be tuning in for the Xbox showcase. So a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how my normie mates, as much as they love playing on their Xbox and as much as they love being Game Pass users, they're not invested in the brand identity or the ecosystem enough to necessarily go out of their way to watch the showcase unless someone like me tells them to, because it's going to be a good show that year. Xbox needs that weight of Call of Duty, and it needs to build that momentum up, because as more Call of Duty fans become cognizant of the fact that Black Ops 6 is being revealed and is going to be synonymous and delivered by synonymous with and delivered by Xbox in their summer showcase, it needs more eyes than what Xbox's showcase would typically get. It needs to get the Call of Duty fan base in early. So I don't think it's too early to start that. I actually think it's appropriate to start that, because we're looking at, it's June 9th, isn't it? That is, mate, that's just over 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks away. That's 2 weeks on Sunday. That's not long at all. In 2 weeks on Sunday, we're going to see what the new Call of Duty looks like, and whatever else Xbox has got up its sleeve. Which means at some point we should probably talk about what we're actually going to do for the showcase, because we haven't had that conversation. I'm assuming we're going to stream it, right? Because that
We
would be
certainly
fun.
can. Yes.
Sweet. So yeah, I don't think it's too early at all. I actually think, 2 weeks out from showcase day, I think they're about on track. They're going to need, effectively, this is marketing Call of Duty, but by proxy, it's now also marketing
The
Xbox's
showcase.
showcase.
Yeah.
This is why
Yeah,
Call
makes
of
sense.
Duty is so important. This is why Microsoft bought them, because Xbox might not have the brand power that Microsoft wants. Call of Duty fucking does. And when you combine those two together and you start that brand association with Xbox and Call of Duty, that's the thing that is going to raise Xbox's profile and raise the brand awareness, and hopefully you want the user base to then reflect that brand awareness as more and more Call of Duty fans start going, oh, Xbox is now the home of Call of Duty. Maybe I've got this PlayStation 4. Maybe I was torn between whether or not I'm going to get a PS4 or a PS5. Sorry, a PS5 or an Xbox Series X or an Xbox Series S. But if Call of Duty is a game that I'm playing a lot on my PS4 or my Xbox One, and I now know, thanks to Xbox's marketing showcase, that the best place, quote unquote, to play Call of Duty is on Xbox because of Game Pass, it's going to impact user decision making. So yeah, I forgot what the question was, but I'm
Oh no, you answered
stepping
it. You
down
answered it very
my
well.
Call of Duty flavored soapbox.
You
Yeah.
answered it perfectly. No, I
Yes.
asked if it was too early, and you answered it.
No,
Perfectly.
it's not too early.
Yeah. Yeah. I rambled also about Hellblade 2, so it's all good. Asa,
Yeah.
you gonna be jumping in there and playing it?
Call of Duty, only because it is on Game Pass, I will probably play it. My bigger question
Yeah.
on that whole IP at the moment is at what point between now and then do they release the back catalogue of Call of Duty games? Because it seems like a massive
they
missed
release it.
opportunity to wait. And I've especially for the one that is currently current. Like, you've got a current Call of Duty game. It's current. It's the one people are playing. Stick that one in there, and that will still get a fair amount of Call of Duty attention ahead of the new one coming in. So I'm kind of expecting that to happen between now and then. And again, I might play it when it does, but I don't Call of
An
Duty.
Activision drop pre-showcase rather than in it. Do you not think they'd sort of basically use the showcase as a big dick swinging exercise? I kind of feel like that's the plan.
I think all of the Black Ops drop in the showcase. Like
All
the
of the
whole
Call of Duties, you mean?
all of the Black Ops.
Oh.
No, all specifically just Black Ops.
Specifically Black Ops. Interesting.
So you don't think the Modern Warfare 3 or whatever to like the current one is?
Well, yes. I don't know. I think they stick with the Black Ops right now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And then
there you
they
go.
just
Call of Duty.
6 comes out as well. Call of Duty's done.
I have bought 16 additional Xboxes and some guns. I'm excited.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't with Call of Duty, but I will play it when it's there. I'm going to have access to it, so why not?
Perfect.
Just like Assassin's Creed, it's just going to be thrown at me because I've got the Ubisoft Plus thing. It's going to be thrown at me, so even though I'm not interested, I might as well give it a little go. You never know. Might be my new favorite.
Awesome. So
let's do.
So for the topics, I was just about. So you were going to segue into them, but I'm going to say, why don't we combine the IGN and the Rolling Stone together, and then rapid fire the rest of those? Can we do that?
You've done it. Take it. Run
Okay.
with it.
That's good.
There you go. All right. So,
We believe in you.
So let's talk about IGN buying up all these outlets in this little outlet war. And let's have the topic with Rolling Stone is getting into gaming now. Rolling Stones, the Rolling Stone publication, has had a gaming outlet, a gaming division at some point in time, but it got freaking murdered or killed. I don't know when, but I believe that was the case. But they're stepping into the gaming realm again. That's a big player in that area. So what do you think about not only IGN and what they bought, but this new little competition that they're getting with a new competitor here in Rolling Stone?
Yeah,
think,
you go
Asa?
ahead. That's right.
I don't really know what to think about it. It's the gaming
Start with the IGN.
journalism.
Start with
space
IGN. What do you
generally
think about the IGN
yeah.
stuff?
The IGN one is a really interesting and kind of unnerving topic. It doesn't sound good. I don't feel great about it. I really think that gaming journalism outlets have a little bit too much power and influence for what I think is reasonable these days. And I think that IGN consolidating more of them doesn't sound like a positive move in the right direction.
I don't disagree. I don't think anybody is looking at this going, yay, more IGN, bigger IGN, less competition. That's going to be great for everybody. We're going to get way more diverse opinions if they control absolutely everything. Perfect. But, it's happening, and that just leaves more room for more voices to spring up and appear, hopefully. Like Gamzly just said, this Rolling Stones one. Gamzly, why specifically should we care about this one that's new? What do they bring to the table?
They have they're big. Like they're a big player. They're not only in regular, publication or not. Like Rolling Stone is huge. They're respected in a lot of different ways, and they're hated in a lot of ways, but it's just their size is very gigantic. You're going to get a lot of haters and a lot of lovers. They have respectable opinions and they have respectable people there. So it's always a good thing that they get into different mediums. And having a player that size in this medium is pretty fun to me. I think, more voices talking video games with some sort of grounded perspective, some sort, is nice to have. So I'm ready to see what's up.
They've already
quite
got
enjoy Rolling
fairly
Stone.
broad
I
coverage
quite
of entertainment anyway, haven't they? So
yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah, they tried it one time and they just weren't ready for it. And this time they're ready. I hope they're ready. And gaming is growing and everybody knows it. And it has a lot of potential. So I mean, all these publications and corporations, they want to grow and cover the thing, and they're looking for growth, and gaming is one way that people want to grow.
There is generally a wide perception among people that are really into gaming and follow it very closely. I bet if you asked our audience that's here now, almost every one of them would say they already dislike mainstream gaming journalism. They dislike the likes of IGN. They don't trust any of them and all the rest of it. Does anything change? Are Rolling Stone more trustworthy? Are IGN damaging this further? Is it recoverable? Is there a better source of gaming news and information than these big players, or do they still? I mean, are they still valuable in general?
Yeah,
That
independent
is
creators
gigantic.
like Gaming Arcadia.
Yeah, those guys.
Hit that like
No,
button, by the way.
that Gamzly guy's a weirdo. So I
He looks like he smells good, though.
yeah, no, I don't. I'm in my training clothes. I came directly from running on a treadmill. Okay. So, anyways, I I think that skill is so important nowadays. Skill will always be important. I think that journalists have some. They have a skill set. They go to places to learn skills. They go to pay to learn skills. Like school's important, learning's important, how to write is important, how learning how to write is important, giving the tools to these people to understand is important. It all is part of the public, like it's all part of the thing. It's like taxi drivers existing. You should have taxi drivers existing and that system existing and not just Uber, you know? You should have that. It's a valuable skill to have taxis, like actual taxi drivers that know their way around without a map. It's important. And publications is the same thing. Journalism, same thing. Like you need these people with specific skills and how, you need people to know how to use tools that are in front of them. It's valuable. So yes, it should still exist. Integrity and biases exist everywhere, including this space, right? Lack of integrity and all that stuff also exists in this space. So like the YouTube space. So yeah, more skilled people in certain ways. I'm not calling everybody else not skilled. I'm just saying specific skills are needed and necessary to learn, and systems are there for a reason. And we should have those people in the space doing good job.
So Wayne's just saying there just quickly that he used to be a taxi driver. That's a 5-month member milestone thing. So thank you for the support for all that time, Wayne, and for longer than that as well. I know is appreciated. Pete has just said just underneath that that it's almost like gaming is like music back in the late 70s. We need important fanzines rather than mass media bollocks, and that's an interesting take that I'd like to agree with, but don't entirely. Because there's also a perception when people do hate on the likes of IGN as mainstream media, they're all corrupt, we don't trust them, all the rest of it, that small creators are more trustworthy than the big ones. And the reality is that it's very difficult to find trustworthy ones. Typically, small creators just have a lower buying price than the big ones. They're the same kind of thing, the same situation. Really, I advise everyone to find a few that they really get to know a bit more personally, as it were, not all parasocial and romantic or whatever, but get to know who you vibe with, who's good for you, who you agree with, who you think is actually telling you the truth, and who is making an effort. And it does take, I tell you from personal experience, it takes an effort to actually maintain integrity. It's not something that comes naturally because you believe in yourself. You do need to make a conscious effort to stay on the right side of it. Find the people that are doing that and follow them. It's us, but there's also others. Headley, go on.
It's also I do want to make it clear, like I don't actively dislike any outlet, certainly any gaming outlet anyway, outside of that, Daily Mail, Sun, Express, they can all fucking do one. Metro, I'm actually going to bundle them in there as well. Everyone else, I actually quite like gaming outlets, and what they do, and I think it's really important to get a broad tapestry of opinion and understanding of people who have critiqued games. But again, you are more than entitled to critique somebody else's critique. And I don't mean fucking put them on blast on Twitter because you don't agree with what they've said. You can challenge what somebody has said without being an arsehole to them. So again, if you don't like what a gaming journalist says, that's their opinion. You're also allowed to form your own opinion and constructively disagree with somebody. I don't really like the review system that currently exists and the power that Metacritic has over, I think, more so Twitter than the wider perception of games, to be clear. Like, Metacritic gets talked a lot about in this sort of podcasting space, YouTubing space, etc. And I think it's given far more credence than it necessarily needs, because I don't think it's necessarily a fair or an accurate way of reviewing a game and assessing whether or not a game is quote unquote good versus experiencing it yourself firsthand and forming your own opinion, and getting a broad mix of user reviews is always quite helpful as well. I like listening to both quote unquote professional journalists and um independent creators on YouTube and everybody else in between, to then form my own opinion. Some of that might be informed. Some I will go into a game, it may be expecting to not like some things and actually quite like them. I don't know. You have to form your own opinion. Specifically where IGN becomes quite a concern in terms of it consuming other outlets is potentially you end up reducing the number of
Yeah.
voices and number of outlets that are contributing to discussion. And it, even if certain outlets stay intact while being absorbed by another media company, you still know they're being absorbed by another media company.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's like
I
having one news baron own several newspapers. They may all be peddling the same language, a different narrative, but they're all feeding the same fat cat at the top. I nearly said
Mhm.
something else then, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. Yeah, to be clear, I'm all for the question, was like, is there a place for the big guys? It's like that's all I was answering. Yes, there's a place for the big guys and the small guys and all that stuff. It's just, when I said skill and I pointed out professionalism and whatever, I'm just trying to protect that, because in the day of age of a lot of, let's say, YouTubers out there, like certain individual, like I could name you 7 billion terrible YouTube channels, I will not.
Don't you dare
And
put mine on that
and
list.
all this talk about like AI stuff, like we're really getting away from that skill and professional area, and we need to keep that intact. So that's all I was like big publications. I'm defending it in that way because I feel like we need to, and we need some of these people, and we need that system. That's all my point was there. I don't think I need to talk about it anymore. Is there anything else?
No,
Yep.
no.
Oh, all right. So quick fire on these next ones, I think. So there's a lot of cool stuff that's happening. Well, not cool stuff. Depends who you ask. But Atari buys up Intellivision, and their IP. Not cool. We're talking about consolidation, buying all these people. But yeah, Atari buying Intellivision. What do you think about this,
Consolidation of
Asa,
good
and all the
childhood.
IP?
It's not real consolidation, is it? Like Atari are too small for that to be a concern in that regard.
Mhm.
It's a weird one. You have to kind of really follow Atari closely to know who the hell they are anymore, because they're obviously barely connected to the Atari that people wore on t-shirts 100 years ago. And if they're making a serious go of it at the moment or not, I don't really know, because I'm not following that closely. If Intellivision are valuable at the moment or not, if the many ancient IP that they own are going to suddenly get a new lease of life or not, I don't know. It's just a thing that's happened in the background. It kind of is just background noise. Like, nice to see some old names pop up and go, oh, I remember them, and that's the extent of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How about you, Headley?
I mean, my dad remembers them. I obviously don't remember them.
Yeah.
I
Atari.
don't really have anything to add here, to be fair.
No. Okay. But
Yeah.
Intellivision, I don't blame you, and I don't blame Ace. I mean, I'm not, like, I'm too young as well for that, the heyday of Atari and stuff like that. But I do enjoy the IP that they do have, and they have weird little IPs that I think they could, like, do something with. So I'm glad that they're alive, and Intellivision stuff is alive and flourish, like, around somewhere, because I believe it's important for preservation. I don't want any of these IPs and companies to truly die, in any sort of way, because you need them for preservation. I'm just putting that out there. That's my excitement, that maybe they live longer and the IPs could get, some light, and we could get some remakes, or I don't freaking know, some sort of something out of this to preserve the lineup. That's my angle on it. So I'm glad that they're alive and still around and all of that. Makes sense. Next one.
It does. Next one. We've got people in chat, by
Okay.
the way, that have Heaven's Demise has a functional Atari 2600.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's
Wait.
crazy. That's awesome.
They were Steam powered.
Oh right.
Right. Not
Oh, yeah?
Valve's
Was it?
platform, but actual Steam. Yeah. Steam and cogs. Different times. I'm
Wow.
impressed that it still works. Well done.
Crazy
Heaven's Demise.
stuff. Devolver Digital June 7th showcase, so it's the showcase season. So Devolver Digital, awesome publisher. The showcase is coming June 7th, so June is going to be a busy time. It's going to be a fun time. I'm excited for Devolver. How about you guys?
Devolver are an awesome publisher that have put on consistently awesome shows year on year on year. So when E3 was still running and there were too many shows and a lot of the publishers were doing their own ones and they were terribly boring, had boring people talking in between a couple of trailers, like Ubisoft and EA and all the rest of them had these car crash showcases, and Devolver just put on an entertaining show every time. I feel concerned for them because they're struggling at the moment as a publisher. They were doing really, really well, like everybody else during COVID. And they were making lots of games and they had some big successes.
Yeah.
But the kind of smaller scale game that they typically like endorse, target, publish, struggle for attention typically. And they've come out and said like their share prices have dropped a lot over the last year or whatever. They've got quite an entertaining social media presence if you like the whole corpo social media brand bonding. Then they are quite funny. They've got a knack for picking good, smaller games. So I hope they do well. I know that they're not particularly doing well at the moment. Hopefully this showcase is a good one and launches some little gems.
You think, pointing at Deadly, do you think that we see Xbox aggressively have their name attached in some way during this showcase?
It's an interesting question. It might be nice. It might be quite nice to see, I guess, depending on the scale of some of the titles shown. It could be that maybe there's some interesting Game Pass drops. Who knows? I think one thing that has definitely sort of come out of, I think the broader picture of Xbox managing its release cadence and sort of trying to get that kind of big Game Pass hit certainly with the big tentpole titles that it's working on. It's been trying to get one out every quarter. We've obviously seen Xbox ramp up the effort that it's gone to in terms of putting more interesting content in Game Pass, more diverse content in Game Pass, and if it's going to continue that trend, it would be nice to see more third-party partnerships, not necessarily with any sort of form of exclusivity, because I think that the Game Pass inclusion almost gives it that kind of de facto exclusivity deal without drawing it's more like a soft line rather than a hard line. Do you know what I mean? It's that could be quite nice, but yeah, I guess we'll see what comes of it. But
Yeah.
we're gonna be getting a lot of news in the next couple of weeks.
So much.
yes,
June's going to be fun.
so
man.
much.
June is
It's gonna be
June is
good.
going to be fun for gaming, and hopefully we don't have any freaking crying all year on Twitter. Okay. Let's just stay away from there. The next thing I want to talk about, we don't really have to spend too much time. I saw the Warhammer Space Marine 2 trailer this afternoon, and it
yeah, I
actually
forgot
looks
about that.
so good. It looks so good. It looks fun. There is a trailer on the bottom here, Asa, where you go to topic notes on the bottom of the page if you want to put that up for people. But the trailer for this is really awesome. If you like the Warhammer universe, you're going to like this game. So go check that out. What do you think about how this game looks, guys?
Freaking hate
Have you
your
looked at
Google
this?
Doc. I don't. I love it. I have looked at it.
haven't
Go on,
seen
Deadly
the
Headley.
latest trailer. I was going to say I haven't
Go
seen the
ahead,
latest
Deadly
trailer, but
Headley.
been following some of the coverage leading up to this. It looks really really good. I was never massively into Warhammer, but I remember saying on here before I actually really enjoyed like building and painting the models as a kid. I always really liked the aesthetic and themes that came with the Warhammer 40k universe. I just sort of didn't really have the, the patience to try playing the tabletop game, but yeah, everything that we've seen so far on this looks really really cool. Can also see what's been revealed is a PvE co-op mode. I love PvE. I always really enjoy that experience. um
Hmm.
so yeah, I'm looking forward to getting my hands on this. Was this wasn't a Game Pass release, was it? There was something else
No,
that yeah, I didn't
I
think so.
don't think it is.
I didn't think
I
so.
don't think it is. I have to double check on that. That's a good question. But I'm so ready for these games. It's so weird. My relationship with the Warhammer games is so weird. I play them all, but not very long. But I play them all, and I have a good time with the time I put in them. It's just I'm never heavily invested in them, but I'm always excited for some reason. Like always excited. It's a very weird um, uh, IP for me, but I'm always into it. Asa, for what you see, do you have any intrigue? Are you gonna pop in
So
co-op with me and Headley?
I am, because co-op is always good fun. I'm scared of the Warhammer universes, Space Marine and the High Fantasy one, because they are so big, and I know that people get lost in them for 800 years and never come back. I don't have the 800 years to spare, so as an IP, it scares me because it's enticing, and I'll get lost. The game looks a lot like Gears of War without a cover system. And I know that the Space Marines get more up close and personal. They have their melee weapons, and it will have more of that as a feature. But Gears of War without a cover system isn't super enticing. Like, being big and bulky and standing in the middle of nowhere with your character taking up like a third of the screen it's an aesthetic choice, I suppose. Which is, I don't want to be too
Comparing
disparaging,
Immortals
because I
of
hope it turns out
Avium
to be
with
really good.
Hellblade 2, huh? Yeah, comparing Hellblade with Immortals of Avium, huh? I understand. I get
Get
it.
out of the way. We just brought it full circle. I love it.
In this one, though, you can't look at that game and not see Gears of War, can you? Like, you have to.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it's
true.
very Gears of War.
It's true. Yeah. No, you're
It's
right.
not
I'm just
necessarily a
pulling
bad
out
thing
here.
though. Gears of War is
It's not necessarily a bad
Yeah,
thing. But Gears of War
yeah,
without a
it's
cover
it,
system is clumsy, clunky, weird.
yeah, it's
Doesn't
true.
feel
You're
nice.
right. You're 100% right. The only reason why you probably look past that is because of the universe, and you're not interested in the universe itself. So if you're not interested in the universe itself and deep diving, you probably see that comparison a lot heavier. But yeah, I agree. But I'm gonna enjoy it. I think it looks fun as hell. I think we could get a crew going in our community nights at some point. We have so much people playing all the time in our community nights on Discord, so on Sundays. So
It
hit that
also
like
has
button, guys,
6v6
and jump in there.
PvP.
Subscribe. It does.
It's
So pretty
6v6
awesome.
PvP. So yeah, if we can get a community night of 12 and just run custom
12
games or
people.
however that's laid out, yeah, it'll be
We just
that'll be
gotta
really fun.
find 9 more people. I'm bad at math. More than that.
And yeah,
And
like Gamzly said, make sure you do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button,
yeah,
join our
and
community Discord. We have a lot of fun over there, and yeah, you'll meet loads of really awesome people just like yourself.
next,
So come join us.
the next 2 we skip and save for next week. I know we keep delaying this topic. I want to put these at the top of the next week's conversation because it's quite interesting, but we're running out of time here. So I think Isla said we have 9 questions lined up. So let's do the community questions and end it there. End it with a game. That's nice.
Perfect.
Cool.
First one is already up. FTW. I've said before, I think Hellblade 2 would be the Xbox version of the Order 1886. Short, great graphics. Questions minimized midway through. I've seen others say that now also. Does the panel agree? And what's all your thoughts on that? there's
No.
similarities because they do similar things with presentation in that they both have black borders and they're both short. They're not aiming for a similar feeling or vibe because the Order 1886 doesn't feel anything like Immortals of Avium. So how can it be similar to Hellblade? Right, Gamzly? He's gone. He's just left the scene.
He's
gone.
done.
There's going to be things that are common between them, and a lot that isn't common between them as well. So
yeah, so FTW, I'm gonna. Oh, he's not even here. God damn it, he left. But you're watching this later. But I do agree with the similarities and the context. Like, they're both showcase games. They both came out teased with the hardware, and they want to really push that boundary. Yes, in that way, they're doing similar things. Hellblade 2, though, is just miles ahead of this game. Miles ahead of that game in almost every way.
Literally through the passage of time, it's been a lot of years.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of years.
No, listen to me, you little shit. If they came out in the exact same day, okay, listen. If they came out in the exact same day, let me get my bars off for a second. The story, all right, is not even close to as intriguing and beautiful. Hellblade 2 is beautiful, and there's no way if Order 1886 comes out in the flair of Hellblade 2, it's going to be comparable in story and impact. There's no way. But anyways, yeah. Next.
I haven't played the Order 1886. Would you recommend me trying it?
No.
Or not?
No.
Okay.
No.
It was a
Hellblade
fascinating
1,
game
how
in
about
its
that?
own
That's
right.
nice.
It does
No,
have similarities in that it was real cutting edge in terms of visuals. It did the same thing with like pushing sensible compromises to do that. It wasn't a particularly good game.
I said that.
Yeah.
Just play Hellblade 1, Deadly. Just play Hellblade 1.
I'm going to. I'm going to finish Hellblade 1. And Hellblade.
Alright.
Next question, please.
I hate you, Asa.
That's not even true, though. Yeah. Right, world-renowned Jehan says, Asa with a massive exclamation mark. I has question. Why is it that many of the Xbox podcasts I used to enjoy have been pushing more and more blatantly unsubstantiated conspiracy theories and misinformation and behaving more like cults? So, world-renowned Jehan, I don't want to overly touch that with a 10-foot pole because I don't want to speak dirt on other people that are doing their own thing. They're all doing their own thing. Take them or leave them for what they are and what they're worth. I don't know that there has been a massive degradation in what they're doing, a massive change or pivot or shift in what they're doing. I know a lot of them, a lot of people across social media and podcasts and all the rest of it did make that jump from Xbox to PC, did get emotional along with a lot of Xbox fans when games went multi-platform and all the rest of it. There has been a lot of bad feeling pushed and pumped around that didn't necessarily need to be there, but each to their own. They can have their own opinions, they can have their own audiences, they can have their own fun, and if you like them, be there, watch them, talk with them. It's a nice thing in a sense. Did either of you have anything?
I have a quick thing to say. So I'm not hating on the channels. I really am not. I think that drama is loved for a reason. There's entire TV shows on drama. It's a genre, it's a category. These podcasts that's what they do. They thrive in the drama of it, like sports stuff and all commentating and all that stuff. They thrive on that. And misinformation, I can't speak on that. I think they just like to have interesting discussions on some of the rumors and all that stuff, and they poke at the line a little bit. It's normal for content. Well, normal. It's as normal as it is in content creation. So
the Xbox shows that I listen to, I don't think they push that boundary too far. There are a couple of shows that I listen to that do claim to have some sort of insider track. Who am I to say whether or not they're lying about that? I think that all rumors need to be handled responsibly. I think they need to be discussed responsibly, and I think they need to be spread responsibly, as in not spread. They should be scrutinized, and they should be considered for what they are, which is not fact. And I think generally
Drama.
this isn't a slight on any one podcast at all, or even any one type of podcast. This is actually just an observation of humanity in 2024 generally. It, and this frustration really does come from kind of me being a trained journalist, and I call that out a lot in my content because I feel like there's good reason to. I am really careful with what I report, how I report it, and I try and back up as much of what I can communicate, especially in my videos, especially anything that I'm publishing that I'm responsible for, with evidence to make my case. And podcasting is a really difficult medium. I think like from the outside, podcasting looks really, really easy. From experience, I can tell you it isn't. It's actually quite challenging. And to
I've been
make
doing it longer. It's piss easy. Ignore him. It's
show-
really easy. What you need to do is, if you don't like a podcast, stop watching it. If you do like a podcast, go and tell them that you like it,
that.
because that actually goes a really long way. So just go tell the good ones that they're good ones, and that'll be the
do that.
thing we leave here today. Let's
If you
have.
don't, go on. That's it. Asa, you've made my point perfectly. You crack on. I'm waffling. Go.
You're doing good. Let's have the next question though. That is fine. Here we go.
Well, the
Right,
next
so just
question
well
is
around.
being. Oh, there you go. Oh, it's
Yeah,
good.
but okay. We're gonna go straight onto it because it is going on. I see well-renowned Jehan has responded there, so I'll read that in a second. But Quicksilver has asked, any ideas what this rumored 360 era JRPG reveal could be at the showcase? 360 era JRPG, with the assumption that it is from the 360 and not other platforms or whatever. The big one that everyone will obviously be clamoring for is Lost Odyssey, but that's a bit of a pipe dream. I'd obviously be ecstatic if it happened. Blue Dragon was very much associated with the 360, was nowhere near as good as Lost Odyssey, but you know, it's neat and tidy. And there were a couple of other ones. Microsoft had a nice little push into JRPGs with partners like Bandai Namco and Tri-Ace, so there are a few around that could be represented. But guess the JRPG, I'm only going to crush my own hopes and dreams if I do that and play that game, Quicksilver. Do either of you have any suspicions, expectations, or hopes for a JRPG?
You took both my games. Yeah, Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey is a good thing. I think those things should be right in our faces all the time. I love those two IPs. Anyway, those are the two. You took it out of my mouth. That's all.
Cool. Deadly Headley, you don't even like Japanese RPGs, do you? You're sitting there hoping that none of us get... none of us waste your time with that stuff.
He's like, nah, just give me Halo.
There was another point that I was going to make earlier about Hellblade 2. I'll make it quick because we passed that topic a long time ago. But I think it's when you're critiquing something and you don't necessarily like the thing that's been given to you, it's really hard to talk about that objectively. It's why like I can't in good conscience review a JRPG because the general thing will probably be I didn't enjoy it for this reasons, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's fair for me to enjoy it for this reasons because it's a trope of the genre that I'm not necessarily a fan of. When I was training at journalism school, which specifically I studied music journalism and broadcasting, I did some work experience where I had to I worked for like a local entertainment magazine in Sheffield. So it was mainly talking about music, and they had a really great local music scene in Sheffield. And I was asked to review a jazz album. I fucking hate jazz. You know, I really, really like heavy metal. You know what jazz isn't like? Heavy metal. And for me to review that objectively was something that I really, really struggled with, to the point where I actually ended up giving up on the assignment, which wasn't something that I was proud of, but I couldn't, in good authenticity, go, this is a good jazz album because I fucking hate jazz. So if you're going to review a game like Hellblade 2 and you don't like narrative adventures, don't fucking review Hellblade 2. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. Let's have the next question, please. And yeah, it's coming.
Can I just actually call out? Sorry, can I just
do it?
Oh, world-renowned GeoHound. So Mr. Boom's channel, you know, he's actually naming a channel. I'm sorry, but the reason why, let's say, I won't call him out. First off, I've made appearances on that show, and Boom is actually a pretty kind human to the people he helps promote. He's a very promotional channel. That's an interesting one that I don't want to go in depth on, but I come from if I wouldn't have got light from that channel, maybe I wouldn't be in some of the other channels I'm in. So it is a good promotional channel in some sort of way. I don't want to go more in depth, but please don't cut me.
I think generally the best
please don't
thing
cut
that
me.
you can do
Yeah.
to treat anybody in this space is if you don't like listening to them, you don't have to. The amount of energy and time that especially content creators calling out other content creators, like you don't need to, the amount of fucking clipping that fanboys do of each other on Twitter, again, it's just not necessary. If you don't like what someone says, you don't have to listen to it. It's all right, go and do something else with your time. It's okay. You don't have to like everybody. The best thing that you can do is support the people that you do like, advocate for them, and show other people why you like them. Because the best way that you can do to not support the content creators that you don't like is to not watch them, and to support the content creators that you do like, help them raise their profiles and reach more audiences and more people because you think that they do something right. That is the best way that you can help somebody, rather than trying to put another show down, because everybody's out here just doing their own thing. Some people are disingenuous as fuck. There's no getting around that, and we don't need to name content creators that. Oh, but everyone can think of one. We've had one named in the chat quite often, pulling some surprised faces. Anyway, yeah, just support the people you like, man. It's the best thing you can do, and it's the healthiest thing that you can do for yourself and for them, rather than internalizing shit that you don't need. I'm talking about Dreamcast Guide Doc, but it's no secret.
Oh no, don't do it. Yeah, and to that point, to close this off completely. All right, the people that are like, I can't stop watching. Well, that's the point. That's the drama we're talking about. But anyways, go ahead, Asa. Next question.
So Stephen Southwick has a question, and he said Gamzly's not allowed to answer this one because we've only got a little amount of time left. He says, I don't see Call of Duty having a big impact on Game Pass growth, as I think the majority of Call of Duty players will just buy the game. What do you guys think? Also, do you think Microsoft wanted Call of Duty for Game Pass growth? Deadly Headley.
I'm super good at this, guys. All right, I'm good at the short answers. I hate you all. Bye. All right.
I think we covered that earlier. I think the visibility of Call of Duty, and that synergy that Microsoft are going to try and create between Call of Duty and its own showcase, and therefore its own brand and its own presence. I think Call of Duty is, I think I would consider it essential for Game Pass growth. I think that's how you achieve Game Pass growth. And again, sorry to just sort of plug this a little bit, but I did a video on this talking about the importance of Call of Duty for Game Pass growth, and how I think Xbox grows its own platform and its Game Pass subscriber base using Call of Duty, because I think Call of Duty as an IP is one of those rare few, and another one that I call out in the video is GTA 6. Those two have so much power and weight behind them. I think Call of Duty is really, really important, and this showcase that we're about to see is the reason why Microsoft made the move that it did with ABK. So to answer your question, yes, definitely.
Gamzly.
I'm not saying anything, Asa.
Perfect. Right, next question, please. Calling your bluff on that one.
Fine.
No, I'll answer it. It's gonna have an impact, and that's all I'll say. All right, next.
I like it. Stephen Southwick's apologized for the question. You don't need to, but it is Gamzly's favorite topic. He would talk for many hours if we had many hours remaining. Abdul has asked, what's our top 3 best Xbox first-party games this generation so far? That feels like a trap. Have there been 3 first-party games this generation so far? Yes, there have.
I could answer this easily. I'm
Okay.
putting Psychonauts on the top, Hellblade number 2. And I will put... I'm slipping.
Redfall.
I really did like Redfall. No, Starfield. Yeah. So Psychonauts, Hellblade 2, and Starfield. 1, 2, 3.
Headley.
This is a bit of an interesting choice for me because I haven't played it that much, but I have been really impressed by it. I'm tempted to put Flight Simulator on there, but I think I'm going to leave that as like a little bonus one. Starfield is definitely on there. I really enjoyed Forza Horizon 5.
Mhm.
Give me a third.
Psychonauts 2.
I haven't played Psychonauts 2. Sorry, don't hurt me.
All right, go
You
get off of
should
Last
after
of
you
Us.
finished
and Go to
Hellblade.
Psychonauts 2.
I am gonna go with Halo Infinite because I do really enjoy
Yeah.
playing Halo Infinite. I think it's the best feeling Halo game. Feel a little bit disappointed by the campaign and lack of post support versus what I think Halo fans were hoping for. But Halo Infinite as a game that I really enjoy playing, I love it. I think it's a great game to play.
Yeah.
So yeah, Starfield, Halo, and either Forza Horizon 5 or Microsoft Flight Sim. I'm impressed by both of those games for different reasons.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I suffer
Fable is the
massively
one I
from
want
recency
for this
bias.
generation.
So mine are like Hellblade, Halo Infinite, and Forza Horizon 5 because I've played all of those in the last week. Which is the only way I know how to answer the question. So let's do the next one, please.
Why not? You know what I mean? Have you
I
played
really
that
struggle
Psychonauts
with
2, Asa?
Past. I've not finished it actually. Oh, that's gonna get Dave back on my case. I've played a fair amount of it. I don't typically do 3D platforms, but Psychonauts 2 is really, really good. So definitely do try and get onto it. Deadly Headley, it deserves all of the stonking review scores that it got. What is the Steam and Xbox rumor? It's not my pronunciation. That's how it's been written as a question.
The rumor. So, what is the Steam and Xbox rumor? Oh, well,
Yeah, the Steam and Xbox rumor is that it came from nothing, and it's that Microsoft are trying to buy Valve for $16 billion in cash, which they won't be able to do. So,
yeah, my opinion is very short, Asa, just for you. Xbox is going for a more open approach. I think that's clear. This would be a cool ass buy, so I will say that this would be really interesting. It will probably never happen, but if it ever did, it would be interesting. But that's all I gotta say on rumors that have no value.
yeah, do you know you can say with almost certainty that Microsoft would love to own Valve, but they can't. It's not going to happen. It will never get through any kind of regulators, no matter what the price is, because Valve are already a monopoly in PC gaming. Microsoft have an awful lot of power in that space as well, and you cannot merge in that way. So that is the rumor. Difficult. Yeah, they'd have to either divest Steam or Windows to make that work. So no. Let's have the next question, please.
On that? No. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, you're welcome to if you want, Deadly Headley. Let's bring the next question up while we go.
No, that was it. I didn't have anything else to add.
Oh, well, you're going to have to, because the next question starts off, 16 billion for Valve seems fair. But what has brought this up this week? I don't pay much attention to the news. Did Gabe mention retirement recently? This has been a decade-long discussion at this point. What has brought this up is some random Twitter account that some people follow decided to people have looked into it and tried to inquire about where the rumor came from, and it's just based on a thing that leaked out of court documents like a year ago that Microsoft had considered the value of Steam several years prior to that, The same kind of time when they were supposedly interested in Nintendo, they briefly mentioned in passing that it would be great if they owned Steam. That's the full extent of the rumor. That's where it popped up from. Right? Has anyone seen anything else on it? Any other
Pretty
source
much,
that's more
yeah.
credible than that?
No.
Not at all.
No. Oh, not that what no.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Other than Jez Corden confirming it, but he didn't actually confirm it. He was just pissing around on Twitter.
Yeah, that was a joke. Yeah, but
Yeah, it was clearly a joke, but obviously people take literally everything that he does out of context. I feel so bad for him, man. There's not fair.
yeah, it's all good.
He can't say anything anymore.
He talks with
without
he talks with a passion, which is the problem for most individuals attached to a big outlet. But yeah.
So yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, next one. Next one. I've not been counting. How many questions have we had so far out of the 9?
4?
5?
I think.
All right, so we've got 1 million to go. Here we go.
Yeah, let's go. We're answering very quickly. You see, at least I didn't answer the ABK one. Next.
Tony, the Arcadia, has asked how many Xbox exclusives will be released this year.
Oh, okay. Can I answer? Can I answer?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah.
All right. I would say exactly 3.
What are those 3?
So I think Avowed doesn't come doesn't come out for PlayStation yet. I don't know if that changes, but as of right now, no. If we're talking console exclusives, I'm saying 3. So Powerborn, Avowed, and I think they're going to take a huge swing, and Indiana Jones will stay exclusive for a few.
I reckon this is my super insider prediction for you all. You can take it or leave it. It is just a rumor, but I reckon Hellblade 2 might come out this year as well.
Wow. Thanks, Asa. Sure.
So what does that give us then? So we've got Avowed, Indie, Hellblade. What else is coming?
Powerborn.
Towerborn.
There's Call of Duty, but
anything
that won't be
gets announced as
exclusive.
the showcase.
There's
Potentially
Fable
Shattered
still to be
Space, if we're
showed.
including that. Fable won't come out
Yeah.
this year, will it?
No, not at all. I don't think so.
Can you imagine if it did? Can you imagine if they just went, oh yeah, by the way, Fable's coming out over Christmas. Have fun.
Yeah. Imagine.
lose my shit.
No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that, Deadly. Don't
Nah,
do this to
it's
me.
'cause
There's also
now-
Age of
Gears and all
Mythology,
that
surprise
stuff.
late
we're not
entry.
doing a predictions
Ooh.
episode.
Age of Mythology Definitive Edition, late entry. That is presumably getting an Xbox release at some point, not necessarily
You
the same time as the
freaking Google
PC one.
search that while we're answering.
My arms are crossed. They're here. I don't use Google. That's not true. I do use Google, but no, that was just a thought that occurred. Because we know it's in the works somewhere, right? Let's do the next question. It might already be up, actually. It says, no, we did this one. We've gone back a question. I'm going to panic. This is about Call of Duty on Game Pass again. We don't want to revisit that one.
Don't panic.
Of all the
Isla,
questions to
help.
bring back, like
Help, Isla. Help.
has anybody in chat thrown up any other games that we missed for Xbox? Ooh.
There's Ara, History Untold.
Yeah, that's
Right?
PC only, though, isn't it?
PC only.
Mm.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Stephen with the bold prediction of Perfect Dark. I'm not sure you're getting that one this year.
Isla, help with
Isla,
questions.
the question
help
that's
me.
up is still the previous
Isla,
one, but if there's a technical issue, there was a cat problem. Okay, the cat has put up a previous question. If you're able to put up the next one, then we'll do the next one, and if you're not, we're going to start a fire. Tom, I believe Gamzly said that he'd answer a quite personal question. He did. This is true. Oh, I don't want to ask you. Completely understand if he's changed his mind. Don't want to push anything, especially when it comes to that end.
Chat?
Tom,
Is he?
Sounds
Is
sus.
Tom in the chat right now?
Which
Tommy.
end is Tom talking about, Gamzly?
oh, the one that you're thinking of. The one that you're thinking of.
Oh,
and the
okay,
question
perfect,
he asked on
perfect.
Discord. I don't want to say it, Gamzly. Are you going to take it? Are you going to run with it?
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna run with it. Is he here, Tommy?
He's here.
All right,
Right.
I'll say this
Right.
in a very simple way. So, the question is how. See, I have a disability. I have a arm disability. So I have one arm that's curved. It's short. It's like a hook. I have another hand that has an elbow. It does bend. I'm a lefty though. So yeah, just putting that in context. The question was, how do I clean myself up when I do a poo poo in the toilet? And the answer is I do it sitting, obviously, and I use my little hand here. This is the hook hand. This is my left hand, right? And I swoop that down in the middle. It goes center, goes down all the way, and then I hook it up. You know those little trucks? What are those? What? Damn, those construction
Dumper truck,
trucks with the
yes.
claw.
Yeah.
Oh, I
I
can't
do
wait
that.
to do the timestamp
Tom.
for this.
I do that. That is what I do. All right, I do the dump truck. That's okay. Is that
Whoa.
good enough, Tom? Is that good? All right, chat. Is that good?
Tom, I
Was
hope
that
you're happy.
PG-13?
That was something none of us really needed to know, but apparently you did.
That's what I do.
He
I hope
very
that has
tentatively
satisfied
asked if
your
it was all right to
curiosity.
ask the question. He's not a monster that's just like done this to Gamzly live on air. Gamzly approved the question in advance and worked on his answer.
Just
so,
the
You're
rest of
welcome.
us.
I'm so sorry, whoever's watching this far in, but that's
yeah,
a good little nugget for you at the end.
that was
Anything
an
else?
awkward Discord silence at the time. I tell you that much. But yeah, join our Discord. We have
all fun.
conversations beyond gaming. Let's do the next question, please. Pete, digital assistants are pretty much wank. Alexa, Siri, Cortana, Bixby, and all the other pretenders. When do you think we will actually get a useful digital assistant? Can Microsoft lead the way? Don't know, Pete. I don't know why it's so bad. Like I say, I don't like talking to technology, so...
Can I answer this really quickly? This is actually personal. So I love the assistants, like the Google Assistant. I do love it. I have Google earbuds, and they're the only ones that really respond just by voice. I don't have like touch anything. I don't use the touch often. I find it annoying in my ears. I have a disability. I have a rough time always digging in my pocket or simple stuff that you guys probably do with ease. I have a hard time doing that. So I rely heavily on the assistant sometimes. Like when I'm doing a call, when I'm taking a run and I have to answer a call, when I have to, I say answer and it answers and all that stuff. I find it really awesome. They are getting super responsive, super good at listening to your voice. I think AI integration with the assistant will help a lot. I think that's the next step. They're already trying. Google is already trying with Gemini to integrate both systems into a coherent kind of AI/assistant, being more real and responsive and more quick. So yeah, I think if they just apply AI in most of the scenarios, like either I don't know, auto correcting what you're trying to say more effectively or whatever. I think that would be a cool way, and I think Google's gonna pioneer that space specifically, as they are right now. But yeah, I think it's quite
natural
good.
language
I use it
is a big deal to improve what those assistants can do, right? Rather than just repeating the same command, slightly changing your accent, shouting a little bit louder when it doesn't get it, and all of those kind of things. My favorite was still Xbox On, though. Do you remember that when the Xbox One came out with Kinect, and you go, Xbox On, I've saved so much time, and then you still have to turn the controller on separately, and it was just the most pointless, most redundant little shortcut.
So
Great, love it.
I love that, Asa. By the way, I loved it. I loved that feature so much. Walk into the room, Xbox on, boop, and then you're right. You have to pick up the controller.
Yeah,
Weird.
It was good. Although you could be an absolute savage and just walk into somebody else's room and just go Xbox turn off and then say yes really quick before they can do anything about it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good ways to troll with that one. Saitama, how many 5 out of 10 will Xbox games get from now on that IGN owns all of the games media? So he's saying because there's the perceived Xbox tax and IGN hating them, is it going to get much worse now that IGN own Eurogamer and Game Industry Biz and VGC24 and all of those? Are they going to force their own stances onto others?
I don't think so.
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think so. I don't think it's ever as cut and dry as that. And
No, they're just going to shut them all down as soon as they can.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why.
I
No, go on, Gamzly. Go for it.
Yeah, I was no I'm like a really I tend to say I'm like this individualist. Sorry, I'm whatever. Um and I have that type of mindset on things. Like if somebody's against you or something's pushing against you, I just keep committed and keep consistent and put out a good product and be forceful about it. And it's going to be so undeniable that these outlets would be kind of dumb to show themselves if there is a clear bias or there is a agenda in these sites. They will be revealed by consistency and hard work and putting out good products. So yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. And Microsoft will, when they stay consistent and make good product, it's these outlets will be dumb enough not to ride the wave of that success as well, because it does help them as well. Helps them get the clicks too. Anyway, yeah.
We did it. That was the last of the questions. Daddy, did you have anything that you wanted to add on that one before? And if not,
No, I think Gamzly covered it.
give us a little
I'd kind
goodbye.
of just refer people to what I said earlier in the conversation about kind of just don't attack the reviewer, attack the opinion if you have a problem with it. And even then, I don't literally mean attack ever. I don't really mean metaphorically attack either. Like, it's okay to just tune out if you don't like something. It's easier on your brain. It's easier on the person in question's brain to just sack it off if you're not interested, basically. On that note, don't sack us off, because we love you guys and we hope that you love us too. Please make sure that you hit that like button and that subscribe button if you are new here and you've enjoyed the show. If you have enjoyed the show, please make sure that you share it with others as well, because we have done a really awesome job of growing and we want to keep growing, because we really love doing this. So yeah, like I said earlier, the best thing that you can do to support us is advocate for us and help other people find our stuff. You can find me on Twitter at deadlyheadley_. You can obviously also find me here every Thursday on the Xbox Series podcast. And you can also find me on YouTube at Deadly Headley as well. I run my own channel where I do journalistic style Xbox centric content. I am working on a new video at the moment where I talk about and I alluded to this in the intro for the show as well. So if you missed that, go and listen back to what we were playing, because we actually ended up sort of getting a little bit sidetracked into the future of Halo and the health of Halo's multiplayer base, and that really does form some of the premise for what I'm going to be talking about in my next video when I finish writing it, because life keeps on throwing curveballs in the way, but I am working through them. So yeah, make sure you subscribed over there, follow me on Twitter, all that sort of stuff. I think that's it. I think that's it from me as far as
Perfect.
outros.
Nice one. So Shady just popped in and said, about to beat Hellblade 2 and took a quick smoke break. Saw the stream, had to hop in. What an incredible experience. But the bit that caught me was he said, these combat sequences are over the top. And I read it as, I'll be role-playing these parts for sure. And I was ready to alert the authorities. Like, I think he's in Canada. Let's just let someone know. Don't let him near anything sharp. Not role-playing the combat sequences from Hellblade. But no, he's going to be replaying them, having a good time, which is nice to hear. Gamzly, give us an outro.
Yeah, so you can find me right here every Thursday for the Xbox Series podcast on the Gaming Arcadia channel, YouTube channel at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, best time. Do the math yourself on Google or something. I don't care. Find me with all my hot takes and yelling at Deadly Headley and Asa about video games that we don't agree on, or comparing Hellblade to Immortals of Avium. Anyways, so do that. And then you could find me on Boom's channel, Double Barreled Gaming, every Monday at lunchtime. That's definitely a different type of show, but my opinions are always very different from the other panels. So go check me out there and hear what I got to say. And yeah, more coming up. in other announcements some other time. Check out my X account at Gamzly TKD for that news. And that's it. I love you guys.
Nice one. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for coming through. There's been a lot of people here today talking to us. We ran for almost 3 hours. I want you all to remember the most important part of the show, which is when Gamzly said that I was right. Lots of other good conversation besides, but that's the highlight.
I'm
you
the
can find me
bigger
here on the
person.
Gaming Arcade channel.
Rotato's amazing. Say it.
In
Say it.
no
Rotato's
way.
amazing. Come on, give me one. Just give me one. Just do
Not that one. You can have a different one, but you're not having that. So you can find me here. Double community streams this weekend. We've got, I reckon, well, I had this in my head and I've forgotten, the finals and Forza Horizon on Saturday, and then Halo Infinite and Forza Motorsport on Sunday. Monday might have some things to do as well, and then there's all the usual podcasts coming after that. So stick around, get in the Discord, and we'll see you next time.